Hey guys, so I gotta start this off with calling out Coach on the podcast. You see, we're gonna ignore the fact we have a guest, but
Sí, es un mexicano que se llama Alejandro.
Uno,
Enter
dos,
subtitles
tres.
here.
Oh, he doesn't.
Chimichanga,
He's not. He
Buenos
he
dias.
speaks English, guys. It's so cool.
It's basically
Just barely.
two
Broken
white
Yeah, I'm
guys.
still learning.
One's a little more tan.
Wait. So, wait. How long? Like, how many days ago did they let you through the border?
Days ago?
Yeah.
It's more like hours, I would say. Like, yeah, I lost count. 37 hours ago.
That's nice.
Yeah, so what we actually do for guests on the podcast, you can verify this through our last guest. You know, we drive down to Nogales and we pick up someone off the street and bring them here.
I'm very
Like,
humbled to be here, guys.
Yeah, it's
No,
their
Yeah, we picked Luis up at
Look, when they said they had a little van filled with mangoes, I did not expect to be in a podcast, but here I am. You know what? A little bit of tahini and mangoes will get you real far in life, literally to another country.
Nice.
Yeah, and as you guys heard with our last guest, he came from a country down there. So like it makes sense that we do
What
this.
country? Then?
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't Mexico just the country?
Well, it wasn't
From
it was-
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Oh,
From
wow.
one,
Yeah,
I
so
forgot which
he
country
swam
it
over
was.
when he was one, and he was pulling his family.
And then we picked him up and left the
When he
family.
got
We found him on the
That's what it
beach,
seems
left
to
the
be.
family,
Yeah.
took him.
Yeah, exactly. Look, strongest survives, people.
Now we're here with you.
So
yeah,
this
exactly.
Is,
Now,
So who are you?
so this is one of our friends,
yeah.
Alex. Do you have any cool stories?
I have lots of cool stories. But based off the rules that I was given, I don't think I could tell any of them. I was just kidding. I mean, what part of my life would you like to know a cool story about, I guess?
I don't know.
I want to actually hear how you
Something questionable that people would find interesting.
the first time you ditched school.
He didn't even go to school.
Okay. Yeah, bro. Bringing up my past, man. I had to lie about my diploma, and now you're gonna make me really lie on the podcast.
How much you
know
pay
what? That
for
wasn't a rule, so that's actually cool. I'm allowed to sin, so. Cool. No, it's okay. It was definitely in seventh grade. I went to a school called C.O. Greenfield, and really crazy school. I was a student council president there, but it wasn't the greatest school, which was really cool because I follow somebody that's the district part of the district of South Phoenix, and they just renovated the entire school.
Brand new
CO
school.
Greenfield, brand
Yeah.
new school. Everything's brand new. Wish it was that way back in my days, but yeah, it was crazy because sometimes there would be just I don't know if I could say it, but basically there
Just
would
say
just
it.
be you would just find bodies inside of trash cans, and
Yeah.
so it was just one of those schools that you were really like when people heard that you went there, people were more like, oh my gosh, they wanted to kind of hear those stories, like what else do you guys see there, and it's like
No, when you know where they have like the trash cans right there.
yeah
That's really creepy.
yeah
Because you're going up and it's kind of like a circle like this, and
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's pretty creepy. So just so you guys can get an idea, so there's 3 different schools right there. So it was Amy Houston, C.O. Greenfield, and Kennedy.
yes
So it's like a special needs school, then K through 8, and then just little kids, like little elementary is
Yeah.
Kennedy.
The K through 8 is like the one that's completely covered. I always like that because it's almost like a courtyard in the middle. But C.O. Greenfield, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, because
Yeah,
we were
no,
talking about there's like a special needs school like
Yeah.
to like more towards the street, and then there's like C.O. Greenfield in the middle, and then there's like another little kids school that's completely like blocked in. Like this place is like there's no. I mean, it's just completely blocked in, but all those the courtyard in the middle is like it's completely shaded. It's kind of really beautiful. C.O. Greenfield, on the other hand, was just completely
Not beautiful.
It was
No,
not.
it's
It
true
is now, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, no, but it's true because you walk into that Kennedy, that little kid school, and it's it's like a Chinese garden. It's like everything's green. They got nice little trees. You go to Greenfield, obviously pigeons all over the place, and they're literally like right next to each other, right?
You know what that reminded me of? I was someone was driving by my work, bumping My Girl.
Oh,
Right,
man.
and you know the words of that
I don't know
song.
what the song that is.
It's in the Temptations from like '60s, and it's like, what was the line? It was like it. Someone pull up the lyrics.
My girl.
The lyrics. Hold on.
Talking
It
about-
relates to the pigeon
My girl.
because he said there's
It relates
pigeons.
to
Okay,
the
Google.
pigeon.
Yes.
Something about my girl lyrics.
I don't know.
Okay.
I was just thinking the song is nice unless
Okay.
you live in Arizona.
I've got
Let me see.
sunshine.
Look at this. Look at this. Hold on.
Yep.
I've got sunshine, right?
That's
When it's
Arizona.
cold outside, I've got the month of May.
No.
Who wants the
Not
month
here.
of May in Arizona?
What's wrong with Maine, man?
May's still not too bad.
Look, it's not bad this
No,
year.
it's
June,
not,
July,
but
that's
usually it's already 100 degrees.
About middle.
Yeah.
Mid,
Yeah.
We hit
Okay.
100, yeah.
See, the song that
Not
gets
me
me is easy like a Sunday morning because there's nothing easy about a Sunday morning. So that's
One more line in this one. Hold on. I've got, I don't know. I've got a sweeter songs than the birds in the trees. Have you seen those pigeons with those red eyes who are not afraid of your car?
Yeah.
They'll
Yes.
like
They'll
attack
challenge your
you.
car.
yeah.
Goose
It's
style.
like, what? like at the ranch market in their parking lot. Those rabid birds.
I mean, yeah, those
thinking,
things are
man.
humongous.
Yeah, they kind of punk you for your groceries sometimes.
Yeah, no, but that whole area, Alex, 'cause you grew up around there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still like that, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That whole area right there, 7th Street.
Yep.
Going over to Central, Southern, Baseline, all that area is like, yeah, they started to clean it up a little bit once you get
They're
to like
trying to.
24th, but
Yeah, they're definitely trying to. It was very common for us to like get to school and then, see a body chopped up and then be like, tell a teacher, and then they would be like, okay, and then they would tell the principal, and then they would just send everybody home for the day, and then do like an investigation. I mean, they just had a really big problem with like homeless people. Obviously, gangs was really big over there. The school was like kind of like the other schools were locked down pretty good. Seal Greenfield wasn't really, and so it was just kind of exposed during the day and night, which, we used to always go over there just to kind of be crazy kids ourselves, but that entire community, it's just a really dangerous area to the point where there's a kid where I'll leave his name out, but, his mom used to be like, Mijo, will you take him to school for me? So I would go every morning before I went to school, go pass by this house, pick her son up, and he was maybe 4 grades beneath me, so he was really like a little kid. So I just walk him to school just to make sure he's safe, and then I would, after school, would walk out and pick him up from his class because they knew the drill, and then I would take him back home. So it was like for her, she just had that, I can imagine now being a parent of being around in that community, just having that fear of, your kid being, in that situation, which some kids definitely were. So a lot of my friends fell victim to it. It was just kind of, but it's so crazy because when you're in that environment, you don't realize that it's unnormal, like abnormal, until you're kind of brought out of it. And then you're just like, what would how's that school still standing? So, so it's like, because the thing about it is like nowadays everybody's so used to suing and stuff like that. And, you hear all these stories about what's happening in like other countries, but, for me personally, I'm like, I know what's happening right down the street. So it doesn't really terrify me as much because I know, they're trying to make us scared of going to other places, but at the same time, it's kind of at our doorstep. Just 50 miles down the street, there's, 50 miles down there, South Phoenix, it's very evident, it's very, very evident. Like you'll be driving like, why is 3 cops over there? Why is 3 cops over there? Why is 3 cops over there? You'll just be driving downtown and be like, oh, they're about to raid somebody. And then that's where you can witness a raid, and so it's very common for people to just kind of park around the police and then wait for these police to start going, and then you just follow the police, and now you're part of a raid. It was just just different things about that community that was very different. We used to break in the my promise as the student council president was, well, we would get more vending machines, which is kind of funny, and more basketballs. And the same people that are promising vending machines were the same people that are breaking into them. So it's and back then the vending machines didn't have like little safety mechanisms that they do now, but you could just flip open the little latch under there, put your hand up there, and pull a soda out. So the guy would come back and be like, dude, I got 50 cents and there's no soda. Like, what's going on here? So it was interesting, but you would be inside a classroom in 7th grade, 6th grade, and kids are pulling out different varieties, different drugs, and doing them in class, and then sometimes teachers would get involved into that. But there's also, it's just a mix. Some teachers were doing it because they had the pureness of their heart. Some of them were just doing it for a job, and some of them just kind of depressed themselves. So I had an amazing teacher. I had 2 amazing teachers, and they, they're like, one of them yelled at me one time. I was doing something crazy, and she's like, Alex, like, you just have so much potential. Like, why don't you just do that? And I'm like the cool kid, I don't, don't call me smart, because now I'm going to be a dummy, So, yeah, exactly. Now everyone's going to look at me and start, well, you do it, So, so again, I kind of retaliated towards that a little bit, but I still at the same time felt deep inside that she was right. But I never told her that. I never revealed that to her. But it was just one of those things where, like, a little bit of that type of stuff stuck with you, Other teachers, they kind of made it clear, like, you're a lost cause. Like, you're just kind of, they kind of already foresaw my future before I even, lived it. And then I had some teachers that actually were like, I see you have a bright future, but I just hope you see it one day. So, but yeah, they were really good teachers there, really good principal there, really good. I mean, you can only do so much, and honestly, you can't put it on the teachers, you can't put it on the staff, because it really just stemmed from the community, it stemmed from the parents, it stemmed from, the majority of the parents that all my best friends had, their parents were, drug dealing or involved in drugs in some sort of way. So, how do you expect a teacher to just, encourage you to have a better life when your parents are the people you look up to the most, doing the things that, you know what I mean? So it's just it's not the culture, it's just more like the community. And again, you would never know that until you leave that. So for me, I actually left that because I was really into fighting, very much into fighting. That's all I ever did. Was fight, and I didn't. My biggest thing was not. It wasn't like it was just, if you talked at me sideways, if you looked at me sideways, and I was very confrontational. So if you looked at me crazy, I'd be like, you got something in your eye, bro? What's up? Like, they're like, what? And I'm like, you're right. Like, what you staring at? And then if they kind of counter argued with me, then that just started from there. But I got in my last fight when I was 8th grade, and then my mom kicked me out and sent me to my dad's. And then I stayed with him until I was a junior in high school. Then went back to my mom. So.
Let me interrupt. I got a story and then a question.
Of course.
First is how I'm homeschooled.
Okay.
So I took my wife, Giovanna, who at the time, we weren't engaged. No. So yeah. So she was my girlfriend, and I took her to homecoming at her school. And it was awful. I was expecting to go to a dance, and it was more like a mosh pit.
You went to a dance. Yeah.
And, it was awful. So we went out to the courtyard, and then she went to the bathroom, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and she comes out, and then these guys come out, and one of them is like, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I'm like, yes, I don't know. And he's like, "Okay, good." And I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
okay." And he had like 4 of his boys right there with him. And then Giovanna's like, they're trying to fight you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wasn't really scared of him anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot more
wouldn't have
braver when you're with your
expected it,
boys. That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was.
So I was like, but the thing is, I didn't even see him until he came up to me. So he just, I don't know, maybe he was racist. I don't know. Nah. But so one thing I wanted to ask you, because I've heard his stories growing up, and you can ask Josh for plenty of things about his school.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, more parents than we think, because a lot of them don't believe this stuff's actually happening. Like, you'll tell some of them, they're like, really? Like,
Yeah.
no way. And it's
course.
like, what do you say to them? Or why do you think they're in denial over this? Because I think it really affects the kids, and it's important.
It's because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up in the hood, right?
Yeah.
Would you say? Yeah. So it would be like, my school is far from that. We're in I go to school right around here, and there's like $1 million houses surrounding it. So
Okay.
why would there be kids doing drugs at that school?
Of
So it's
course.
a little bit
Of course.
different because they look at where you guys were, and they're like, that school, yeah, of course. But the parents can't see that at my school because
Yeah.
why would that happen?
Yeah, I think it's I don't think it's like I don't think it's an ignorance is bliss type of thing. I think it's just purely ignorance, and unknowing, because you don't really see it on the news too often that this stuff is happening. You don't really hear about too many crazy shootings, other than like, when I see a shooting in this other state, 4 people wounded, I'm like, that's every day in Phoenix. Like, that's
some areas, yeah.
that's every day. Like that, that's never on the news though. And again, it's for a lot of different reasons. It's because, they want people from other states not to be intimidated to come to Arizona. So it's a lot of like the politicalness of, just trying to keep it on hush hush. If we heard everyday news about Chicago, I'm pretty sure there would be no residents in Chicago. You know what I mean? So, it just, there's this thing where, you get ads, but like, come to Chicago, look at the white snow. And you're like, I actually know the real news about that type of stuff. And again, it's the same thing and every state has their own ghettos. Every state has their own hoods. Every state has their own little bad niches of the communities. And it's not necessarily like your parents is doesn't want to believe what's actually happening. It's just that they're not exposed to it. If they're exposed to it of like, hey, yeah, I'm part of I'm a firefighter in South Phoenix. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of those calls about those shop. But if you're just like, hey, I'm going to this place in Gilbert, I'm working there, more likely you're never going to hear anything about what's bad happening in in Phoenix or other places that So I think it's just not necessarily them not wanting to know. I think it's just them not actually getting any information around them, which is because they're not either one they're not looking for it, or one they're not being fed it. So they're just kind of like going on about their business about like, everything's safe until they start to do a little bit of the research. I'm going to buy a home out there. I'm going to research this. And then all of a sudden some realtors like, oh, you don't want to get a home out there. You're like, why not? It's really cheap. It's like, oh, well, how do I tell you this? Like, I want to sell you a house, but I also want you to live to pay it off, So I think it just really comes down to what we're feeding ourselves and what we're allowing others to feed us.
Right.
And so, when I came down here, I was in a school to where I was just mind blown. I was at Queen Creek, but yeah, I went to Queen Creek and I was just like, where's the guns? Where's the bodies? Like, where's the bad stuff? And I mean, it was surprising to see parents show up with goodie bags for practice for baseball, football, and I was like, what is this? Like, what is all of this? Like, what is the matching shirts about? Like, my son is number 13. Like, I didn't understand any of this. Like, it didn't when you're doing sports over there,
a whole new world.
Yeah, it was, so for me, it was a culture shock. Instead of me trying to make other people understand, I could never understand how people were living that life, trying to look inward into South Phoenix. I could never, I just don't understand that. But my life of saying, you know what, going from South Phoenix to a place where there was integrity, there was a foundation of family, there was the support system of parents. Like, you saw how much kids had a better advantage. Same curriculum, same system, same educational as far as teachers goes and principals. But as far as the parents that were really engaged in the everyday life of these kids, because the majority of the kids that are in South Phoenix, they probably don't have mommy and daddies. They probably just have a daddy, or they just probably have just a mommy. When I was going to school, it was very weird for somebody not to have mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and another thing is and this is something that I don't mind sharing is also beliefs. You know, like that was the one big thing. Whether this person wasn't a Christian, or this person wasn't Catholic or Baptist, somebody believed in something. You know what I mean? But as far as in the hood, you know, you'd wear a cross just because it kind of went with what you wore. But as far as knowing where Matthew was in the Bible, they had no clue what anything was. So again, it was just something to do. You would identify yourself as either a Christian or a Catholic, but that was only because of what your parents, you know, believed in, having a statue or something like that. But again, they're just a completely different communities in parenting. I realized, like, whoa, what I was going through was unnormal. But it was normal for me, but it's actually unnormal. And what these kids are going through is normal for them. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of vice versa. My life, it was just, you know, what I was going through to them, they're like, that's not normal. I'm like, what do you mean? That's my normal life. You're like, bro, that's not normal. You're talking about bodies and trash cans. I'm like, oh, well, that's just what we deal with. So
yeah, no, that is crazy. No, but that's a really very good point. That like a lot of times the parents have no clue what's going on.
no clue.
My mom and dad both work all day long. You know, 8 kids plus a couple relatives that live with us. So they're working all the time. So I did whatever the heck I wanted, and they never knew when, you know, I was about to get in a little bit of trouble. Whatever, my sister's brother, they bailed me out. So it's like, they never knew. Same. You know, I was telling my dad about 15 years ago, you know, I was telling him some of the stuff that I was doing. He was like, no way. What?
Yep.
He couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, we were the kids that in that community, they would say, like, you can play with whoever you wanted, but just don't play with the Rubio boys. You know, we're just like, for us, we, you know, when you're in that environment, it's almost like it's an ego. You know, it's a reputation, and you kind of feed into that, because you're just like, yeah, the more people fear me, the more people are scared of me, the more people don't like me, the more people, you feel almost as if you're doing something cool. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, heck yeah, like, I like this. And so it's not like we wanted to be bad, or we were like going out there trying to be feared or anything. It was just like, bro, I'm doing me, and you're scared of that, and that kind of makes me happy. Like, and again, it's not about, like, it's just a pride thing. So if somebody kind of talks down to you, or someone's trying to belittle you or embarrass you, now you have this whole reputation that you feel like you got to defend. You know what I mean? So now you're a punk if you don't fight this guy, even though you don't want to necessarily fight him or whatever. But it's just trying to defend your pride.
Keep that reputation.
Absolutely. Yep. So it's and again, that reputation was completely long gone when I moved out here. And again, I regained that when I went back to South Phoenix, because out here, you have to understand, I went from feeling like I was somebody, going to a place where they treated me like I was not important, nobody, no reputation. They didn't know who I was. So I was going to a place where, like, dude, we don't know you. Like, you know, so I was like, but I'm somebody back there. Like, we don't care about that. You know, so it was just, you know, so when I went back, that's when I'm just like, all right, I got some catching up to do. So went right back into trouble. But that was my fault, obviously, because, again, with my dad, very, very, you know, talking to my dad, like, hey, Dad, you know, like, hey, what's up, son? You know, and he'd be like, hey, you know, hey, son, what are you doing? And he could probably say it 2-3 times. And I'm like, sorry, Dad, what do you want? And then he'd be like, oh, I just wanted this. Back then, you know, my dad was way different. He was like, Alejandro. And if I didn't say yes, sir, it was not good. Like, it was the first time. How many times do I got to tell you? Just once. All right. I shouldn't call you twice. My dad was very, very different. So it was always like very strict. My mom, just like you, bro, she didn't know what I was doing. She probably did, but, you know, she's raising 4 kids on her own, and she's going to 2 jobs and college full time. So she's just trying to do the best she can to keep a roof over her head. So it wasn't. If there was a problem with us where we got sick or there was accident, then she would be like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then most likely we would lie. Like, I got a gash in my chin for, me and my brother were doing something. I split it open, and the first thing that came out of our mouths were like, "Mom's gonna be ticked." So we're so afraid of our mom. So my brother's like sitting there, and we're like, I have my t-shirt full of blood, and we're like, he's like, "Bro, stay in the front yard. I'm gonna go distract mom. And when I open the door, just run to the restroom." I'm like, I got you. So, I mean, I have my chin's gashed, and the only thing that's going through our head is not like, am I okay? Like, I'm not even caring about pain. I just want to hide this from my mom. And he's like, "She's in her room, go." So I go, and we go in the restroom, and he's sitting there pinching my chin. He's putting like so much super glue on there, and so he's super gluing my chin together. And to this day, she doesn't even know about it. And so we're just sitting there, he's like, "Dang, it keeps coming loose." So he's putting like toilet paper on there to try to dry up the blood, and he's keep putting more super glue, and finally gets it stuck. And I have this big, like the biggest, funniest Band-Aid on my chin. She's like, "What happened to your chin, son?" And I was like, "Nothing, not just a scratch." She's like, "Okay." It's like, she's like, "It looks kind of weird." So I'm like, "It's all right, Mom. It's just, I just scraped my chin. I just fell on the ground." And I was like sitting there like, but we just have so many of those stories, huh?
Did it leave a scar?
It did. I don't know if you can see it through this hair, but it's like right here. I have a scar on one of my heads here. That was my sister pushed me into a crate. We were trying to stop that bleeding, but couldn't do it. Mom freaked out. She was in the shower. She just saw her son just his whole face filled with blood, and I'm like, "Hello, Mom. Can I put a Band-Aid on it?" I walked into like a cattle rail one time. I still got the scar. Let me see it right here, right there. Basically, what ended up happening was I was walking through this cattle rail. They separate the roads so the cattle can't go through. It's like a cattle guard.
Yeah.
And so I slipped in there, and my foot went through it, and so it just peeled all of my flesh all the way up to my knee, to where you could just see the whole bone from here to here. And so I was just laying there and just kind of bleeding, and then I was like, "Man, how do I walk?" And so I was like, "I'm not walking to," and we were camping at this time. I was like, I'm not walking to the campsite. There's no way. My mom will kill me. I might as well just chop my leg off now. So I'm just sitting there trying to think. And as I go, a ranger passes by, and he stops to pick up something. I was like, "Excuse me, sir, can I have a Band-Aid?" He's like, "You need a Band-Aid? Yeah, let me go get a Band-Aid." So he comes with a couple Band-Aids, and I'm sitting there with some blood all over my leg, and he's just like, "You don't need a Band-Aid." He's like, "Where do you want to go?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Where's your family?" I'm like, "I don't think I want to tell you." He's like, "You got to tell me." So I was like, "All right, they're over here." So I went over there, and they see the lights going off. My mom sits there, and I'm just like, and she's losing her mind. And I'm just like, "No, this is not what I wanted." So she goes, she's like, "Does it hurt? Does it hurt?" I was like, "Mom, I just need a Band-Aid." Thinking as long, the less she has to do, the better. So she was very mad. So she took me in. She was so mad, put it this way. She was so mad, went, got me stitches. And then she was so irritated with me that she was like, "I'm not taking you to get them out. I'm gonna pull them out myself." So she did. So she took out my stitches 2 weeks earlier than they should have. So I was just like, "Oh man." So she's like, "You know what? That's a learning lesson." So it was just, again, when you're in that lifestyle, you don't really. You don't really look back at it until now. You're just like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." I can only imagine if my kid got hurt, I would just be like, "Mom, son, it's okay." But my mom, she was like, we were all tough skinned because of that. And again, that's why I love and I appreciate my life, because it made me who I am today, for better or worse. It's just. It makes me be a lot more sensitive towards my kids, especially homeschooling my kids, because I'm like, I know what's actually out there.
Right.
So I will do everything in my power so you don't have to see the things I see. Granted, I don't want you to think that the whole world's rainbows and, yeah, exactly. But
I don't like marshmallows.
I don't either. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I love marshmallows.
I'm like one of those.
The whole bag.
I see. I can eat them by themselves, but you know what I don't like is s'mores. The reason why is because s'mores, they just start falling apart as you eat them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the graham cracker gets to be
you need a better cookie than that.
What about
you
Lucky
bite into it,
Charms?
it's crumbling.
like a chewy
Yeah.
chocolate chip cookie with.
Something
Well, yeah, because
really
that already
hard
has
to
the chocolate in it.
Or okay, then
I
just
can't do this. I can't.
Why?
Why are you throwing up, Josh?
The food poisoning.
Wait,
is
but
getting
what about
in.
Lucky Charms?
No Lucky
I don't like
lucky. Yeah, no.
What about the sweet potatoes with marshmallows on top of them?
Oh,
No.
yam?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
yams.
yams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
good.
don't like those.
Thanksgiving yams.
I do. I love yams.
I don't
Candied
mind yams.
yams.
You gotta come to
Candy.
my grandma's house. She makes some good yams.
Well, just bring us some next time, Josh.
Yeah.
I'll try to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wait
just
till
bring
I
the
love
yams
yams,
to
man.
us.
I love
You're gonna
yams.
bring like
Yeah.
4 Mexicans at your grandma's
grandma
doorstep. You're gonna
will
think she's
love
getting
you.
raided.
No,
It's like
no,
the-
my grandparents will love
like,
you.
it's like, I
The
don't have
whole
a
dish. No, but just going back,
Yeah.
I'm going back way back at CO Greenfield. So
Oh yeah.
I didn't grow up in Phoenix, but the reason I know that area is because through my job I work the whole South Side. I work at all the schools, the high schools, all of the elementary.
You
K
know
through 8.
Chavez then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I graduated from Chavez.
yeah. Chavez is probably my number one school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place is
Wait,
crazy.
when did you graduate?
Oh,
That
06.
place hosts one of the biggest races.
so
in
you weren't
America.
working there yet, right?
Yeah.
No,
You didn't
no.
go till
I started
07?
Yeah, I started
Yeah.
going to Chavez in that area probably about 09.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my first memory of Greenfield, just being specific, is I was new on that route, and so when you're new, people don't really know you, so you have to go and check in. So I did. I went to the office. Door was locked, and I'm like, "Why is the door locked?" So I knock on the door, right on the door, and this lady comes out, kind of picks her head, and she's like, "Oh, come in." And I'm like, "Why's the door locked? Are you guys at lunch or something? What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, we're on lockdown."
Yeah.
Then why'd you let me in? It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just leave and no, I can't let you out. I'm like, well, why'd you let me in? So I sat there for
I was just fine out there with the shooter. Okay.
I mean, I could have
could have been the shooter.
right. And I could have easily walked out, but I thought, no, I got to be respectful because they don't know me here. So I like 2 hours, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
And
Yeah,
the ghetto
lockdowns-
bird go around, and
the
nobody in
time.
or out. So I'm like, so I told her, please, next time, don't open the door. Just tell me to leave.
Yes. Yeah, they had a strict rule there. It's kind of funny that you said that because they had lockdowns honestly a couple times a week. Just what life was.
Yeah.
So it was just whatever the case may be, but they at one point they just started the moment you went inside of your classroom, they'd lock your door. Like they just got in the habit of saying, forget it, instead of lockdowns, we'll just lock all the classrooms as all the kids went in. So it wouldn't be unnormal for you to try to go to a class after doing whatever you're doing in the restroom and then come back out. And you would need a hall pass. In the hall pass, you usually had a key so that when you came back to class, you just unlock the door. But yeah, it's kind of funny that you say that because the doors were always locked everywhere. But yeah. I love CO Greenfield for many reasons. I learned all about marketing. I learned all about economics. I learned all about the stock market to the point where I used to just study this. I mean, back then the newspaper was the only way you can actually see how the stock was doing. I mean, there was no TV or whatever, like cell phone. There's no like apps. There's nothing like that. So you had to just read the newspaper to see how the stock did yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's like, did I lose money yesterday or not? So I just started looking at it, and as part of my student council, they would go through these classes with DECA and stuff like that, of just learning how the world works, marketing and stuff like that. And that's always intrigued me. Just business, SEO, search engine optimization.
Did they teach you how to do your taxes?
They did not actually.
I don't know why they don't. I mean, I was homeschooled, but I feel like that's like the main thing.
I agree. I think
so don't go to
taxes.
jail.
I think that's on purpose, though. I think like the reason why I don't think that this is my from being a student council president from 8th grade all the way to a senior in high school, I could say that I don't think they teach taxes inside of school is because it's like teaching somebody how to get more money from them. Right? That's the only reason why somebody would learning taxes is like, oh, I know how to do all the, I know how to cut all the corners that all the big businesses and all the successful people are doing. They know how to do taxes better than anybody. And that's why they're successful. But if you can tell everybody, imagine this, going to a store and everybody knowing about the 50% off coupon. Well, you're going to be getting a lot of people come through that door, but you're only going to get 50% of their money. But if the same amount of people come into that store buying the pizza for 100%, then you're getting now double your money. So for the government, if they taught everybody how to do their taxes, then now they're losing out a lot of money because they know that you now know the system. So I think that's their biggest strategy, is just to teach you math that you'll never use, honestly. History you'll never care about. And
I'm offended at that one.
Well, I'm just saying.
you got to know your history. So
well, I agree to a certain extent. I agree to a certain extent. I think that I think as far as like education goes, you can learn as much as you need to know based off of what your life is. But I think like if you're going to teach history about characters from the past, don't get me wrong. I'm saying learn whatever you want to learn. I think that's really important. But if you're not going to teach me the fundamentals of life, which would be taxes or which would be other stuff, that I'm saying, hey, you're literally teaching me stuff that if I work at Circle K or QT or GoDaddy or whoever or wherever or whatever, or Apple or whoever, I don't know, whatever you work at, then that stuff's not going to actually ever matter. But if you're going to go and try to build a family, like whether you're 18 or whether you're 70, or whatever age, you're going to be paying taxes the moment you get a job. Yeah. And like those are like the foundations of just living, much less trying to make me learn how many swings he chopped down the tree with. I'm like, I don't care. Like, well, you know what I mean? Like, I again, it's perspective. But.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast before, but just I find it interesting, if you go to community college or even regular college, how the first 2 years are like your last 2 years of college. And so to me, it's like, why don't we just do them once, and then you only have 2 years of college, and that just makes your life way easier. Yeah, it's so weird
to me. My friend, we have to take pre-calc. That's like the typical one to take. Yeah. Well, the next math they're taking in college is pre-calc. I'm like, why are you taking pre-calc again? It doesn't make sense.
Because I feel like by the time you're 16 or 17, I mean, I know you don't know exactly what you want to do, but I feel like there's some things you shouldn't have to learn unless you want to go into a field that uses them.
1,000%.
It just doesn't make sense why you have to sit through all that.
That's why me personally, I would always say, because when parents come to me and they're like, hey, could you talk to my kid, they really don't like school. I'm like, I am the wrong person to talk to about that. Like, I mean, I'm only honest with you because I had one teacher out of all of my education, and he was my economics teacher. And he, like, the first day I went in there, he said, this was at Chavez. He says, who here wants to go to college? And like half the class, raise their hand. I was stubborn. I was just the guy that didn't care. And I'm thinking he's just going to pick on me, but I'm like, oh, whatever. So I didn't raise my hand. And so out of everybody, he's like, why don't you want to go to college? And I'm like, here it goes. Like, I'm going to be the loser again. Like, so he's like, I was like, because I don't know what I would want to be. And then he's like, that, ladies and gentlemen, his whole study that one day, it never happened again, but his whole study is why we shouldn't go to college. And I was just so, like, that impacted me so much because he said that the only reason why he was an economics teacher is because he went to school wanting to do economics, and he built this amount of debt that the only way that he can repay was to actually go teach economics and do that job and make himself feel better about being, like, doing 4 years of whatever and then getting all these degrees. And he's like, if I didn't go to school for economics, I would be something way different. But because I owe that, I'm now feeling like I am obligated to now do this. So I'm not living my dream. I'm only doing this because of out of obligation. If I put myself through 4 years, and I'm just like, that sounds like a nightmare, you know? Mm-hmm. And so for me, he says, I support anybody to going to college only if they know exactly what they want to do. And for me, it's that like spoke volumes, because I've always heard the nightmares of people getting all this depth in college and then switching a degree. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm sorry, man. Like, that's why I don't have any tattoos. I'm very undecisive of what I want. You know, like I could be like, I want, you know, something cool. And then the next month I'm like, dude, why would I have ever got that? You know?
So when you and your wife go out to eat, who picks?
Me, always.
And
that's
are
a
you
quick thing.
No,
It's
but
these
like how do your
things,
decisions go with that? Are they decisive decisions?
What do you mean?
Decisive. Okay, this is how Alex goes. Hey, babe, hungry. Oh yeah, me too. Oh, you want to go eat? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Where we going? You'll see. That's it.
That's it. I mean,
Me, I'm the opposite, bro. I'm like, hey, babe, where you want to eat? It's like, oh, and the reason I do it, wherever.
Yeah,
all right, hey, we're going to Panda Express. I don't like Chinese. Oh, okay, that's right. We'll go to Burger King. Ew.
Gay.
All right, babe, we'll go to let's go to In-N-Out. It's like, yeah, but we had In-N-Out the other day. I don't really want. But we can go wherever you want. Okay, babe. Seriously, where do you want to go? Wherever you want. But no, that's cool the way you do it, man. I should be that way a little more.
No,
Wait, do you do it that way?
Huh?
Does he do it that way?
Yeah, he just said he did.
I do. I definitely do it that way. It's definitely taken. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'll be peeing in my pants sometimes, but you know. But it is. What I found out is this: if I go somewhere, like, hey, you hungry? If wherever I show up, I know she's gonna eat something, and so it's not really like a problem anymore. Like I won't go to somewhere that I know she won't like. But I will always go somewhere that I know she can tolerate. So if I go to Sombreros, I'll just show up like, this is what you got. You know what I mean? Quesadilla coming right up for you, you know. Or if it is a drive-through, I'll just pull up. You know, I'll just go to the drive-through, and then I'm like, what do you want? She'll be like, where are we? Like, what is this? I'm like, this is Burger King, you know. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
So I've been married a year and a half, and so I learned a lot from watching my dad's mistakes and him refusing to learn from them.
Amen.
He'll be in the drive-thru and be like, "You want something?" And my mom's at home, and she'll be like, "Just bring me a surprise or don't bring me anything." And then he doesn't bring anything, and then she gets mad, and it's like, "Why'd you do that?" So now what I do is I don't ask. I just bring 2 of whatever I got, and then if she doesn't want it, then I get 2. So it works out great.
That's wisdom, bro. That's wisdom. I'll tell you right now. Like, I'll give you guys my order from Sombreros. It's bean and cheese burrito enchilada style. Like, and that's that. I've been ordering that same meal for 15 years. I found out last month.
Hold on. Why?
Bean and cheese burrito.
No. Why the same meal?
Again, I'm one of those weird guys where it's like, it's always been right for 15 years, and I don't think you're gonna mess it up.
Yeah, okay, no, I do that.
I don't. If you mess it up after 15 years, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did that, but my youth pastor in high school told me I was picky because every time I go to a restaurant, I get the same thing. It's like
I'm not into.
I've got it. I really like it. I know I like it. It's not that I don't want it.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not hard.
I just came here and I wanted this.
Look. For me personally, is you're not eating my food, so eat whatever you want. I'll eat whatever I want. If I choose a bowl of lettuce, then I choose a bowl of lettuce. So let me have. But again, But I also see, like, my wife is polar opposite from me. She'll go to a restaurant that I know what I want, and she'll be like, "Oh, that sounds delicious." I'm like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, good luck in your journey. Because then guess what? Like, I could definitely say, like, 7 times out of 10, it's going to be good. But then those 3 times, it's just like I'm sitting there, like, enjoying my food, like, same same burrito, same enchilada, same cheese, same everything. Tastes good. And she's like, man, it's just something's off with the meat or something's off. And I'm like, hey, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you should have got what you know was good. So for me, it's like, hey, you learned your lesson. It cost you $15, but yeah, I'm fully satisfied. So again, yeah, I've been ordering the same meal, and I would always get two. Same thing with you. But I barely found out last month. This is a true story, by the way. She's like, I just got to tell you, I don't like the bean and cheese burrito enchiladas. I was like, oh. Yeah, I was like, what? You're like, I've been getting this for how long? She's like, I like the cheese crisps. I'm like, why did you say like, say less? I'll go to Safeway and get some tortillas and cheese. That's easy for you. No, I was kidding, but yeah, no.
So what do you do when they take away the food you like?
What?
Wait.
McDonald's. They have a cinnamon roll.
yeah.
And my cinnamon roll is gone.
Or like
they
when
weren't
your
that
pizza
good. That's why
shop-
they're gone.
They
When
were
your
pretty good.
when your
Those are
pizza
some-
Josh,
shop
if they were good, they'd
shuts
still be there.
down.
They were that good. People didn't know they had a bakery.
No, but like when
No.
your pizza shop shuts down.
Ah!
Yeah, that was
$5
The world
pizza.
is crumbling
That was like
before
our
my
one
eyes.
mom and pop shop in the area, and now we're relegated to Little Caesars and all the big.
It's not even
chains
close.
again.
Guys, we had a close pizza shop next to work.
Yeah, we
That's
used
where
to have
everyone
one
That
of the
was
Pizza
cheap.
Romano's by our house. It was so delicious, but it closed down too.
Anyways, what was your question? What do you do when
Yeah,
they
what are you
take
gonna
your
do when they
favorite
take your
meal
food
away?
away? Because with McDonald's, I just
They'll
don't
never
know
take a
anymore.
bean
Yeah,
and cheese
yeah.
burrito enchiladas.
A
though. There's
burrito
no
place
way.
will never get rid of the
wait,
bean and
wait
cheese.
until the
Yeah.
beans can't come no more. 'Cause I
Look,
thought they
bro,
would never
I
take away
will,
the cinnamon
I will
rolls.
I will grow the beans myself and be like, here, dog. There's your beans.
Make my burrito.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm blessed with. I think we're all blessed with this. They'll never run out of rice or beans. That's definitely
Yeah,
like a
they're saying that.
culture.
And
You
if
know
they
what?
do,
I
we
just-
probably died.
I gotta have
Yeah.
meat in my burrito.
Yeah,
Gotta have meat in my burrito.
trust me, bro. If I could afford it, I would. But you know what I mean? Like I gotta
man.
close my eyes and
Come
expect that
on,
tortilla
man.
to be a carne asada sometimes. No, it's funny because we should all go there sometime. It would be something that I think you guys would absolutely love, and you probably have heard of it. It's on Central and Baseline. It's called a place called Ponchos, and Ponchos is Sombreros. So if nobody knows, Sombreros is a big franchise. It's growing like crazy. It's everywhere now. But Sombreros is Ponchos, and Ponchos is the smallest little restaurant you'll see. You could blink and you'll pass it by it on Central and Baseline. It's right next to like a food city, but I mean it's super small, always packed. It's crazy busy. It's just like an amazing place. This place serves the exact same food that Sombreros does, same owners. But, this place got a big representation because Bill Clinton, when he was president, he came through South Phoenix, stopped at Ponchos, went in there, ate. So when you go in this place, you'll see like painted, Secret Service. You'll see all these pictures of Clinton. You'll kind of see all that stuff. But the same family from there did another franchise called Sombreros.
Hey, but when was the last time you were there, bro?
Ponchos?
Yeah.
Man.
Are you about to tell us it closed?
There's
It just seems.
There's
Tortas Paquime now, right there in that Food City Shopping Center.
No, it's across the street from that.
Okay.
It's its own little building.
Then I have missed it because I know. Well, right now I don't go down Central very much because all this
All the
construction,
construction,
the
yeah.
sewer, or whatever
Yeah,
they're
it's
doing.
ridiculous, yeah.
Or is it the light rail?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
They're destroying it, bro.
It's bad.
It's
But
super-
I actually used to service that Food City there, and there was a restaurant at the end of the shopping center over here, and but that recently, maybe a year ago, maybe two, turned into Tortas Paquime, which
yeah, Ponchos
it's a place to go right there,
is
too.
dude, that place.
yeah.
Speaking of road work, we always joke about how pointless it is. This road going out to the main road.
It's not even closed for road work.
No. They dug up the side of the road, put in a
Right
pipe,
there.
buried it, done. They're digging in the exact same spot for another pipe.
Huh.
As if they didn't know 2 weeks ago that they needed 2 pipes in there.
I
Wait,
think
which road are you talking about? One off.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah.
Oh, but what about the other one? The one that goes to Walmart? They got 2 lanes
Oh,
now,
yes.
but they have
Oh,
one lane
yeah.
closed
Ocotillo.
because they're parking the trucks right there.
Yeah, I think you're talking about
Is it?
Ocotillo.
Or no,
Is it,
different Walmart.
It's
This
different.
Walmart right here.
Ocotillo isn't any better.
No, I feel like whoever's
Yeah,
in
no,
charge of
that
like
thing's
Queen
wrecked.
Creek, whoever's in charge of Queen Creek or Santan roads, they ought to be fired.
Yes,
'cause,
the
like,
stoplights.
I just feel
Oh,
like
the
I feel like
The planning is horrible.
the worst. Like I feel like guys like I feel like they should focus on one job at a time. But what they do is they open up like 100 different street jobs and focus on like they literally lock it down for like ever. Then but meanwhile they're focusing on another road like on the other side
That
of
no
town
one
and no one's
uses.
ever
Yeah.
doing anything.
You gotta
And
get
this
the
one
bridge
road
story.
and you're just like you half the time you're driving there you're like what is happening bro I don't understand like it's you know China's over here building bridges in one day bro and like we can't get
I
but
hate,
you know why?
I hate when
We can't
the
get a
road,
stop sign in
when
this
one lane is up here and the other's down here, and you're like, I wonder how they're gonna fix that.
No, but the reason is and I don't like this, but it's the same company doing
Yeah.
all the work everywhere, and they got like 1 or 2 employees at each
Yeah.
spot, and now they're taking like a month on a job that should take them like a day or two. And it's
Oh, like that
My
bridge
bad.
by
I
your
agree.
house.
I
Yeah.
agree I agree
Yeah.
I agree
So-
yeah
We got a bridge, right? Did you come down to get here?
yes
So you know what the waterfalls are on the bridges?
oh yeah
Well, those used to be bricks. Instead of paved road, it was bricks, and it looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone rocked with the bricks, but they wanted those out. So what they did was they closed half of the bridge, and they closed
Oh,
the
I
other
remember
half, and they
that.
didn't have any employees on one, and they had 3. They had 3 employees on one and 0 on the other, and they weren't even good
No,
employees.
yeah,
You could see them
describe the
picking up one
employee.
brick at a time and
well the
moving
thing
it
about
over.
it that's
Yeah.
But Josh,
they get paid
job
hourly
security, yeah, you
Yeah,
they
got
get paid hourly
hourly.
and again
80 bricks an hour. I mean, a day.
oh dude I'll tell you what I mean I'm not gonna lie to you like if I was that guy I would be doing the same thing
It's very fair.
because
I'll give
again
it that.
because like again you're getting paid hourly you don't
Get paid by the
you like
job.
if you were the owner that's different if the owner was sitting there picking up brick by brick that's one thing
Right.
when you have another guy that's just like dog this company's gonna probably fire me after I'm done with all these bricks so he's like I'm gonna take as much money as I can
That's why you pay by the job, not the
Right.
hour.
I agree
That type of
I agree
stuff.
Peace
I
is
agree.
great. Then that,
But one
I'd
of
be
the things
hung.
he always says is that they should be working 24/7 on the major roads.
Oh, yeah.
I agree I agree with that 1,000% there's no
and more than 3 guys.
No,
Yeah.
I think okay. If it just goes with anything, bro. Like if you're trying to pick up your house and you're just like, I'm gonna pick up one thing a day, it's gonna get done in like a year. But if you're just like, yo, I'm gonna get as many people that's in this household and start picking up everything in the next 10 minutes, like it goes super fast. But these jobs are like so again, you see all the jobs everywhere. Oh, this construction by I'm like, dude, you guys are the worst. Like you guys don't know how to get a job done within 5 years. Like you guys are absolutely worst. You guys may bid the lowest, but you are the slowest. You know what I mean? So I would have no problem paying extra 1 penny cents taxes towards making these jobs get done a lot more faster. But it's like, dog, it's getting
You know,
done.
This is a
So
great
slow.
example. I'm building stairs and a little 20 square foot deck at my house. I made a bad cut on the stair stringers. That's what holds up the steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I realized it, so I took it apart, cut it, put it back together. Took too much time, but I did it all today. If I was a roadwork company, I would have finished the stairs and then taken it apart again. And
Yes, bro.
it's like,
Yes,
why?
bro.
You knew
Yeah.
it was a problem.
Yes,
Yeah,
bro.
but you know why? Because you know
No.
you did it wrong, but you're trying to hide it till the inspector came and said, "Yeah, that's wrong. You got to take all this apart."
But that's my thing. Like with this road, I was saying, like, who was like, we have another pipe.
Okay.
And they're like,
Here's
nah,
another thing that
we'll
just came to
wait.
mind. I don't know if you guys remember. You two probably do because you're on the other side. But right by this big church over here, when they put pavers in the median, for like 3
Oh,
weeks,
yeah.
they closed 1 lane on each side. Which you got to think about. You got about close to 300,000 cars coming through there a day.
Yeah, easy.
And you got it down to 1 lane. And then here's the kicker. There'll be 1 guy working on the pavers.
I remember this. It was the most stupid thing.
Oh, it was horrible.
For a longest time, like remember, you're just like 3 lanes. We just need 3 lanes, bro. We need 3 lanes. Like it's like the two. It goes from 2 lanes, 3 lanes, 2 lanes, 3 lanes. Just give us our 3 lanes.
Yeah.
Like I don't. I think a lot of time, again, like, I think that the planners are, again, I just said they got to
Against
get, well, I think they're just lazy. I mean, again,
think
that's
they
just
don't
my
live in this
personal opinion.
area.
But I'm saying, like, you build for the future, right? Like, build for the actual future. If you're going to have 1 million homes built in the next 10 years on the side there, you might need a couple of extra lanes. Because, again, you're like,
It's true.
I'm just saying, like,
No, I think they get a somewhat of a cut.
for sure.
It's like, hey, you know what? I need this permit right here. You know, here's a little money. All right, go ahead, just sign it off.
Well, okay,
That's
you can
it.
see where they did it.
It's gotta be
on
it.
They
Hunt with
they did the
communities.
job faster, makes them look good. 10 years down the road, they're already got their money. They're already
Yeah, they're
gone,
gone.
long
They live in
gone. They're
Hollywood.
long gone.
They
They're
didn't get revoted back in
Well, no,
yeah,
so,
exactly. They're good though because they got their money.
Right.
So
You can
it's-
see where they did it though, because on where the newer community is, they have all that blocked out. Where they just putting another lane. I don't know where the road intersection, where the not QT, Circle K. You know, they have 3 lanes right there, and you can go back, and they can make it 3 lanes this way. But when they go forward, they got power boxes on the side of the road that they can't move.
Yeah,
keeping it
that
from being
too.
3 lanes.
It's like, why'd you
Who
build
put
it
a power
so
box
close
there?
to the road?
That's
Why
what
would
I'm.
you do that?
It blows my mind, bro. That's what I'm saying, man. I because I used it for everything. So there's another thing that like bugs the heck out of me. I'm like, why is there in the highway? Why is there like 5 street lights?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like you like you know what I mean? Like let a highway be a highway, bro. Like
Yeah, but
like,
eventually they'll take them out because that's, if
It's
I'm
gonna be
not
a
mistaken,
ramp.
that's what the 143 used to be like. Because that's just a really short highway out there in Phoenix. But yeah, it used to be like every mile was a light. They took them out slowly.
Yes.
They just left them at the end. But
uh,
yeah, it's so.
I mean,
But,
especially coming at night, I'm just like, don't turn red. There's nobody around, bro.
You guys
So the
gotta-
most like horrible thing is just me sitting there at a red light with no car
No
on
cars.
in sight. I'm just like, this is
I've started seeing people do right turns and go straight into right.
that's
turn.
me.
Yeah.
That's me, bro.
Yeah,
I
I used to do that.
that's me. Yeah,
Yeah,
take a
'cause
right.
It's no
flip
less
it.
illegal than just running it, right?
Look.
Because you're crossing the.
Listen,
Right,
dog.
but look, for me, I'm out there on the road at 3 a.m.
Yes.
There's like 2 other cars, and we're both going the same way, and the light's red, and you're there for like a minute. And it's
Yeah.
like,
I start
mean-
blowing.
No, I'm telling you,
Blowing them
I'm
out.
sitting there like Austin Powers, bro. I'm like driving up, reversing, driving up, like flickering my lights, like just let me go, bro. And I don't know, those always bother me the most. It's just like someone's in this like station, like look at this white, look at this white man, look at this white man, click red.
hey, so let me change it up a little bit
Honestly,
here.
I would
You
do
know.
that if that was a real job.
So a lot of times too, when we have guests on here, Alex, we like them to share a little bit of their testimony. So like I know you already shared about your childhood, but so now
How
share
did
with
you
us
come
how'd
to
you come to
Christ?
Christ?
Yeah.
Okay,
Was it
Um,
stoplights?
With the stop.
stop that, yeah.
When did you
Lord,
decide
I
to
will
drive on the
accept you.
one-lane
Turn this
road,
light green
the narrow
eventually.
road?
Turns out it was a
man.
stop sign, so it was never gonna happen.
Ah,
No, I can say it really stemmed from my wife.
How'd
I-
you meet?
We
Oh, so
met
she
her for-
pulled you in.
Well, she pulled me in, not realizing she was pulling me in, because my mother-in-law was a Jehovah's Witness, and so I was again new believer. Couldn't tell you where John, Mark, I couldn't tell you where any of the book of the Bibles was. But again, in my eyes, I was a Christian. Never accepted the Lord, didn't do any of that. But again, because of thinking, this is just what I am.
family
So I'm like-
religion type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I was a self-proclaimed Christian, but my life was not at all as a Christian. So what ended up happening was we met at a party, and it was all through sin. So I met her mom, and her mom used to always say this thing, which would be red flags, red flags, red flags. And again, she was a single mother as well with two girls, and she spoiled the heck out of her girls. So she wanted her girls to be with somebody that was head on the shoulders, had a future. And me at this point, while I met my wife, at that time, I was on probation for 18 months. So the odds were not in my favor as being this, successful guy. And I wasn't successful at all. I just lost my job because of that incident, and I couldn't find a job anywhere. So I was literally like working under the table at different restaurants, different places, $5 an hour. Just whatever I could make any type of scratch. That went from going from like $20 an hour to $5 an hour. It was just a very humbling process.
About how old were you?
When I got busted, I was 18 years old. And so I got with her when I was about 20. And so, 20. And what ended up happening was I got introduced to her mom, and her mom, I would say just the most smallest things, like I would say something about guns or graffiti or whatever, and she would be like, red flag. And I didn't know what the heck red flag was. I was like, what the freak is a red flag? Like, and then she's like, then she would purposely call me by my wife's ex-boyfriend's name. And I'm just, again, I was this guy who was very conceited, very self-centered, I was just a different guy back then. So everything in me was like, everything in me was just like, skip this chick, like go, you have a whole phone number full of girls, like just skip this one. And it was kind of like just one of those things, but like because of my pride and my stubbornness, I was like, I'm going to show you, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to show you. I'm gonna be with your daughter with all these red flags, like more like she's mine now, So again, not in a bad way, but it was just more of like I'm gonna give you more red flags, almost on purpose. So
so you just wanted to prove her wrong.
Yeah, that was kind of my biggest thing. Is like, I'm your daughter likes me. Take that, So. And again, she knew about it. My wife knew about it. Her mom knew about it. It was just one of those things where I had no problem. And I won't disclose some other things that I used to do, but I would definitely do things to show her like your daughter likes me, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that kind of was my drive. And then all of a sudden, her mom was like, "Oh, I'm a Jehovah's Witness," and I was like, that's dumb. You know what I mean? Not even know what a Jehovah's Witness was, like not even know what a Jehovah's Witness was. I was like, that's dumb. I'm a Christian. You're like, what do you believe? I'm like, I believe stuff, So at that point, I was like, we should go to church, and this was over 18 years ago. And so we went to Calvary Chapel, much smaller than it is now, and just loved it. My dad went from one church, so he went there and started going there, and now I'm starting to learn. Now I'm starting to get my Bible. I got my Bible. I'm like learning, and so now I remember my faith wasn't being built on trying to impress my wife. My faith was being built on trying to get back at the mom. So I'm trying to do this tug of war of like, I know the Bible more than you know, and this that and the other. So it became like it challenged me. Not realizing like it challenged me to learn more, challenged me to educate myself more. And during that challenge, and again, I was learning not the right way. I was not learning to get closer to God. I was just learning to learn more. And again, that's one of the things that I pray people also understand is just because you know a lot about the Bible doesn't mean that you're saved. And so for me, I was at that point to where I was like, I knew a lot, but I didn't mean I was saved. So I then started to fall in love with God. And I just realized, like, man, like I am not at all the Christian that I need to be, like even close. We all heard that. Mic check.
Please do it again.
Oh, hey, you know what, bro? I'm gonna call you out. Sorry, please. If anything, we'll add the sound effects. So it doesn't matter. So in this process, her mom and me would go. So every time I'd go to her mom's house was quite often because I ended up moving in, and she would ask me questions, and I started off being very like confrontational, like just cutting her down, and just not being I was no way even close to a great example of a Christian, and so we definitely had that one too.
You need to
Do we need to take a break?
You can take a break if you need one.
He almost floated on him. He's like,
I want to prove it's not. I want to prove it's my hand. I'll do it till I can prove it.
So this is a process, and so I was very serious about my wife. Again, I will leave a lot of part about my past out, but I wanted her because she fell in love with me through all of this. She loved me through all of this. She loved me. She didn't care what her mom thought about me. She didn't care what her family thought about me, which they were like, I'll tell you what, right now, they were not nice, none the least. They did not respect me when I would go to parties, which I was this cocky kid, and I was willing to fight anybody. I was like, dude, come at me, bro. Let's do this real quick. She knew that about me, which was kind of cool because that was actually kind of attracted to her. She was attracted to that a little bit, bad boy. So I went to Pastor Jim and I was like, hey, we want pre-marriage counseling. So 'cause I plan on marrying her. And so that's when we went through this whole course of pre-marriage counseling. And then, skip about a year, we got married. And then, so we just started going to church regularly. And about a couple months later, that's when Pastor Jim asked us that we wanted to do like second grade. So we went to second grade, fourth grade, and that's when we did about...
in like Sunday school?
Sunday school, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did about 7 years of, junior high. So it was really awesome. But during that process, it was all the red flags. And again, that turmoil between me and her mom. I was with her mom through all her hard times. She lost her mom. She lost her father. She lost her. This is my mother's mother. So she lost her little brother. She was just losing a lot of people in her family, and she just. And it was really heartbreaking because her family's a lot different than mine. Mine, you can steal my wallet today, and then tomorrow you show up to the party and we're all cool again, right? Like that's just how my family is. Her family's a little bit different to where. They just separate more and more as they go, trying to create their own little thing, which I don't understand even a little bit of that. But after these years of her losing family members, her family was kept separating more and more, like never having like these little events, Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So naturally, my family does parties like it's just like what are we having a party for? Like I don't know, we just want to like it's just crazy
because we're all here.
Yeah, so that's what they like doing, and so she's always invited to these things. So she's always coming, and she's just seeing how my family was, and then she just started to love my family, and my family loved her, and started to just love everybody, and it just like the love kept going around to where my family was. Like, where's Carolina? Like, where's she at? And so it just became to where all those red flags became a joke between me and her. At one point, we're just like, and she's just like, you're my son. Like you're my son. Like I'm so happy to have you. Like to this day, like I can call her right now. Like, hey Carolina, like how you doing, love? And like I could test her out right now. Like, hey love, how you doing? Hey love, what are you doing? Would you need anything? Like she's like a mom that I thought I would never have. She's not my mother-in-law. She's like a mom to me. So she just treats me like I'm her son. So it's just that relationship just came from like I just never thought it would be at this point. But it was at the point to where like she's like, hey, I at one time I got a phone call and I was a youth pastor at another church in South Phoenix, and that was right before I came to our church. And she's like, hey, I'm at this other church. I forgot what it's called. It's in Gilbert somewhere. And she was like, I decided to accept Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited for you. And she's like, hey, but one thing is they allow people to get baptized here. And you can get baptized by the pastor, or you can choose somebody to baptize you. She's like, and I want you to do it. And so I was like, okay, like I got you. Like when? Tell me the time. So me and my wife go over and I baptize her, and for me, it meant so much because, here's this lady who never doesn't really realize that she motivated me to learn more about the Bible and to get, just kind of really like learn more about the Bible, not necessarily anything to do with God. And during that process, I fell in love with God, more in love with my wife. And then therefore, years later, I would never thought she would, go and become a Christian and be an amazing Christian at that. And then have me, that same person, red flags. And, when I tell you guys, it was rough. It was rough. Like, it was not like, oh, I'm like, dog, there was times where I'm like, I'm burning this house down. I am burning this house down. I love you. God bless you. I'll see you in heaven. But it was just like, it was really rough. And so to go to that point to now to where it's just like, we just laugh about, all that. So I would say my testimony was, at 19 years old, being at our church and then being just going to God as if he was just this tool that I was using to use towards somebody else, and then falling in love with him was just a huge thing. I lost 100% of all my friends that I was attached to in my present life. I lost all of my self-centeredness or whatever, my pride, I guess you would say. I kind of lost a lot of myself because God just was like, hey, you think you're here? Because I was just like, dude, I'd walk in and be like, I would go in a job like, hey, what do you do? And like, I do this. I'm like, well, I want your job. So like, that's what I want to do. And I would get it too. And, I feel like as a being a Christian, I know I can say for this long because I know there's people that lived my life 3 times and, they're still learning it. But I feel like God's definitely maturing me to be like, hey, like, you still have so much room to grow. And, who are you to judge somebody that's like, oh, they're let's just say use that example. They're using people to smuggle people here and there. I'm like, I have no idea what that person's going through. That person probably struggling out their mind. Like, they don't know how to make ends meet. And this is the only way for them to do it. Like I when I first went into Mexico, I'll give you my first experience and then I'll jump back to my mother-in-law situation. But I went to Mexico and I got pulled over. And I was with my nephew, and I was with my cousin, and we're all adults. And my thing is, I'm gonna protect my nephew. I'm gonna protect my cousin because I'm the older cousin. So the cops come. They're like, "Hey, man, I'm there in my BMW and my old BMW. Don't have it. I mean, I still have it, but it doesn't work now. And so they're like, seeing money, I'm like, ah. So I'm like. They're like, hey, so they're like, let me see your driver's license. I show them. They're like, all right, it's mine now. We're going to take you to the impound. We're going to take your car. And I was like, oh, my gosh. So I'm like, and I was like, bro. And I just got, I got the cojones out of nowhere. And I was like, dude, how much to pay you so I can get out of this? And he looks at me. He's like, follow me. And I was like, okay. So we're in the city, right? We're in the city. And so we get in the car like, hey, we good? I'm like, dog, you got my license. You told me to follow. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I know. I was like, stuff your cash. So we're stuffing it and there's probably still money stuffed in my BMW right now. So we're stuffing it everywhere, bro. We are putting it. We're not. Stocks is rookie mistake, So we're putting it we're stuffing it inside the interior of my BMW. We're I'm telling you, there's probably still money stuffed in there somewhere. And we're following them, and by the time we get out, we still had $20, $40 in our wallet. Just not that we're broke, Come on, bro. So we get out, and I get out, and my nephew gets out. My nephew, he's just a straight little G. I'm like, y'all stay in here, I'll handle it. He's like, nah, because they took us from the city to the middle of nowhere to where it's just pitch black. So we don't even. There's no street lights. It's just us. Our lights and them in front of us, and they stop. And these guys are all covered in masks, guns, not just a little pistol alone, straight up ARs. And they're getting out, they're all jumping out, and I'm like, this is the worst situation ever, And so he's like, nah, we'll go out together. So I'm like, nah, do you stay here? Here's the keys, just in case something. I'm like, he's like, nah, we'll get out together. So they out, he gets out with me, my cousin gets out. He's like, all right, well, this is it, So we go, and then he's like, all right, how much money you got? And then I'm like, and I'm like, my nephew already had his wallet out. He's like, I got $40. Guy goes, take the $40, gives me my license, and we leave. And I was like, that was terrifying. Again, we have to turn around, go back into the city, and so it was like that was like a terrifying moment. So for me at that moment, I was really bitter. Like I was really like, oh heck no, like the situation he put me in. And again, you're thinking like as an American, if a police officer did that to me here, I'd be like, dog, I'm talking to your sergeant. But when you're in another country, like, dog, I'm talking to nobody. Like, you know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna, whatever. So I came back feeling like really like bitter about that situation because just feeling uncomfortable. And then it was my nephew who's like, man, but if you think about it, like that $40, you know how much money that is to that guy? Like that's a lot of money, like, and I was like, dang, I never really thought about that. So again, as wrong as it is in that guy's situation, he's sitting there like this $40 is going to go a long way with my family. Granted, I don't feel like if he would have done something even more than that, then again, that's excessive. And again, what he did is excessive. But at the same time, some people are willing to do something really stupid for the sake of just trying to live. And I would remember at that time in my life where I did stupid stuff, very excessive stuff, just to live. So again, I'm not saying like, hey guys, let's just forgive the guys that are illegally throwing money out here, like or drugs out here. I'm not saying that. It's just more of like, I understand your perspective, Josh, of that person doing that. But that being said, back to my mother-in-law situation. But yeah, it was leaving a lot of bad parts out of it. Just it really getting involved in the Sunday school with my wife and just learning together, how marriage is supposed to be. Learning how to be not bitter towards other people, not being self-righteous. That's a really big one right there that a lot of Christians really fall into, especially as young believers, because they're like, I'm saved, but how could you believe that? And you just kind of go in this snowball of just like not understanding how people think. Just like, dog, like they don't like sinners, someone that's a sinner, you can't judge them as if they're a Christian because they don't know. You know what I mean? It's like a baby, like you're trying to tell a baby, hey, you're getting your math problem wrong. It's like, I don't know what math is. Like, I don't know how to spell it. Like, you're holding me accountable to this? I don't know what you're telling me. So it's just a mindset that it took a while for me to turn off. You know what I mean? And I was just like, whoa, like chill out. God was like, yo, chill out. Like they're not going against you. They're not rejecting you. They're not listening to you. It's all me. Like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like you were in the same situation as them at one point. Like, who are you? So, so I can definitely say, with my wife, being married to her for 15 years now, and having 3 beautiful kids, I am not the man I've wanted to be. I could truly say that. I really want to be better. I can always be better as a husband. I can always be better as a father. I can always be better as a Christian. But one thing I don't ever have to question is my salvation. I don't ever have to question whether I, have lost any type of integrity when it comes to my relationship with Christ. And that mean being like, I'm not ever faking it. I don't like at this point. I don't care if people are like, oh, Alex wore this at church or Alex said this. I was like, I said what I meant. Like that's what I mean. Like, and it's just raw. Like, and again, to some people, it's just like, whoa. Like I don't understand that. It's like you don't have to, for me, I've learned to understand that I don't have to understand. Like someone comes up to me and I'm like, yo, I have a business and I have 100 employees. I don't understand that. Like I can never tell you I understand because until I become there, I have to understand that I won't understand. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand that you won't understand. So again, I will never be a guy, and that's why I love this men's retreat so much, is because it was just so much rawness of men being who men are. I'm sorry, but men struggle. Yeah, men go through things. Yeah, I have arguments with my wife. Yeah, we've gotten really rocky roads. Yeah, it's been really rough. Sorry, but that's just life. Like if you want me to, not saying you, but if people want me to be this perfect image, then I'm sorry, I'm the wrong image. I'm the wrong person to come to with that. So I've been comfortable with my failures of saying, yeah, this is, you guys, there you go. I've struggled. No problem. Yeah, I've failed. No problem. But it's not about that. It's about how me and my wife worked it back out to become falling in love with each other again. I mean, it's been rough. You know what I mean? Like, the enemy tells you, like, you're not good enough for her. And, kind of, back of your head, you're like, dang, what would my wife be doing right now? She could have so much better, but she has this. Like, she deserves more. You're just not doing more. And again, it's just the enemy toiling inside you. Like, imagine what she could be having right now. Look at all her friends. They're out there just having a time of life. They're on 7 vacations. You're like, Lord, help me out. All I can do is just beat sombreros, beating cheeseburgers.
So was there like a moment that you would say you converted, or did you kind of always believe and you just didn't do anything with that? Like you knew there was a God out there, but you didn't care,
Yes.
or like?
Yeah, I've always knew. I mean, and it wasn't just like based off of one church. It was, I went to countless other churches: Baptist, non-denomination, Apostle, Catholic. I mean, I went through all of them. And it was just whether it was a friend of the family or whatever the case may be. So I always knew like God existed at a certain level. Like I never rejected God's existence of saying like God isn't real. I've always questioned whether like why would God allow a kid to die? Why would God allow my lifetime? Like always those questions. And my dad and the one thing about it is like I've never ever. I've always been fearful of my dad in a great way. Of like I'm scared of how you look at me. But as far as me talking to my dad, I've always talked to my dad as if he was just a fly on the wall. It's like you're just gonna listen, and whether you agree with what I believe or not, I don't care. Like, but he always would respond back with just this love and genuine like answer. I'm like I just respect it so much. But he used to always tell me, and I had all these questions. And especially reading the Old Testament, I was like, how could God just do that? Like these were people, and he just like zap, Again, I had to understand that I wasn't going to understand. But it was just one of those things where my dad told me something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. He says, it's not okay to question God, but it's perfectly okay to ask God questions. And I love that because it's like, instead of God, why did you do this? And how could you do this? And why would a peaceful God, a loving God, allow this to happen? It's like, hey, Lord, could you help me understand the process of this? Hey, Lord, could you help me understand the good that's going to come out of this? And then instead of me like, I don't, like again, I'm just coming to you like a child. Like when your kid's like, Daddy, why are we leaving too early? They're concerned, like, Dad, just tell me why. You don't have to tell me the not the details, but more of like, instead of Daddy, are you there? It was like, Daddy, why weren't you there? You know what I mean? Like they know that you're there, but they're just wanting to know why you weren't there, rather than asking God like, I don't think you're real, because I don't think God. Again, asking God questions. Like in the Old Testament, they used to, even with the angel, like, well, what about this? And like, just because you had a little bit of faith, but we realized, like, based off of even Jesus, he answered the majority of all his questions with questions, and a lot of the times he actually didn't mind people asking him questions, especially the disciples. But it was just one of those things where if you doubted him, he came at you like, oh, you're doubting me now. Okay, now he almost like, I'm gonna get you now. But if you're sincere in saying like a question, God was like, okay, let me help you out. Let me give you a parable of what to help you understand. So I realized like God sometimes like, hey, as long as you're not questioning my purpose of what I'm doing in this process, then I got you. But if you're questioning me, then now that's where I'm looking at your walk like, you're not believing in me? You don't think I'm gonna do it? It's like, no, I'm just. And sometimes I'll tell you, to be honest, I have no problem talking to God, and knowing that He's my best friend, and knowing that He's my Father, and knowing that He's always. But I'll say, hey, Lord, like, I don't understand. Like, I'm scared. Like, I am scared right now, and I know I shouldn't be. I know you're real. I know that you're around me, but I have 3 little babies. I have my wife that look up to me. I have them that, but Lord, I don't have enough strength. I'm like one problem away of falling apart, like, and I don't want that to happen, and I'm clinging to you. Just give me something like to chew on, to give me an empty cup to hold on to. Like, give me something that I can at least hold on to in this process of just give me like some type of sign, and 100% of the time he's always has. It would be a call from my dad. Like, hey son, what you doing? Not much, but I just want to let you know I love you. I hope you're having a good day. I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? It's just like the small little things where, I no longer expect God to just show up and be like, hey son, here's a check of all your problems being solved. Like, no. like that's happened once in my life. Believe it or not, that's happened once in my life. And that's how I actually got my house. That's actually how we got our house. And that was all 100% God. And so that's a good testimony too. But yeah, I don't really feel personally that with God, I ever have to. I'm no longer nervous about what he thinks about me. You know what I mean? Like, I just have this relationship with God that he's given me this boldness just to be like he's given me the boldness of who I am. Like, I've lived my whole life trying to be the gangsters, trying to be the gang members, the reputation guy. I don't care anymore. Take it all away from me. You can have it all. Like, you can say whatever you want about me. You can throw mud at all. I don't care. But me having that relationship with God, crying like a baby and just like, Lord, like, I'm the hardest thing as a man is to know, like, especially as a father, like, that your child is going through something, but you never knew about it. You know what I mean? I know God always knows about it, right? We all know that God knows about it. But the thing about it is when your kid feels that they can't come to you, it hurts a little bit. And I never want that to be my relationship with God. I'm like, yo, I'm scared, Lord. I'm scared, Dad. Like, could you help me real quick? I know you know about my problem. I know, but I'm coming to you. I want to just talk with you. I want to come to you and let you know, like I know you're in control, but I need a little bit of piece of that blueprint. Like, just give me a little bit, and I'll be happy. And a lot of times, he won't give it to me. But at the same time, he will give it to me in just a different way. Whether it's my wife saying, hey, you know what? I appreciate you. And I'm like, woof, that just refilled me, like, right there. That gives me that extra boost. But again, it's just a learning. Just a constant thing of learning, of never comparing my faith, never comparing my Christian resume, I would say. I would never compare my intelligence. I don't care about all that. Like, when you're teaching others out of your heart, that spirit is talking to that spirit. I don't care if you're trying to compare about how many degrees you have or how many think you know about me or how many times you know about the comparison of Hebrews or whatever. Like, good for you. Like, if that's how you can reach people, praise God. That's not my style. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be... Peter can't do what Paul did. Paul can't do what Peter did. They can't do what David did. They all have their own roles. I have my own role, and I accept it with full courage and acceptance and gratitude for the Lord of giving me that ability. But I never once am I going to step over to be someone else's role. I'm sorry, but the person that's holding the door on Sunday is just as important as the guy that's on the pulpit. That is their calling. That is what God's put them there for. I'm like, man, why don't you guys just pick up a Bible? Okay. But if God calls them to do that, I am nobody to call anybody to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm nobody to expect, like, hey, bro, I did it when I was your age. Good for you. Yeah, that was when houses were $4,000. Good for you. You know what I mean? Like so it's different, bro.
No, it is, yeah. And but that's awesome because I mean, you and me have so much in common, bro. It's crazy.
I've noticed.
But even like my mother-in-law, me and Kenya, went off to get married. We eloped, and she got mad at me. She wouldn't talk to me for almost 2 months. Like, nothing. She's like, can't come to the house, nothing. Now I understand that, parent, she wanted to see her daughter get married, whatever, but
of course.
Hey, what if we would have just left and just shacked up and not got married? I mean, so I felt I did it right, even though,
of course,
we left the parents out, but it just had to be done.
Absolutely.
And, but yeah, growing up in the ghetto, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the way that we see, Christ in our relationship and reaching people. You know, it's like we talk out of the heart, and we know like people like us that have seen the stuff that we've seen, a little soft gospel, like, hey, you know, just believe and everything's gonna be. No, dude, you better repent from your sin and stay away from that stuff. Turn back.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
He did a really good analogy of this because you talk about it so well. Where he was standing, you know, and it's a full 180 turn. You turn your back to sin, and you're talking about how some people need to hear that. They need to hear that you can't be doing what you're doing anymore. You need it to click, and it just clicks different for some people.
Absolutely.
And for me, I need that reminder. Like, hey, if you're sinning, man, and the Holy Spirit's not convicting you, check yourself, because if the Holy Spirit's in you, because the Bible teaches when you become a believer, the Holy Spirit of God comes in you.
Yes.
So if the Holy Spirit is not convicting you when you're doing stuff that you're not supposed to when you're sinning, is he in there?
Yeah.
Or have you dimmed it so much that it's just like at the bottom and a little spot right here in my stomach?
Dude, and you know, honestly, I believe most Christians, they don't know the difference. I think that some Christians have dimmed it so much to where it is that little spot.
Right.
And then the problem I have, I guess, this is my biggest problem, is I have the biggest problem with another Christian not noticing the dim. They're thinking that it's not there. So there's a difference between something not being there and something super dim. You know, and so I feel like as Christians, I'm gonna go to a brother like, hey bro, I love you. I got you, man. Like I know you can do this. Like if you want to call me, you want to hold you accountable, let me do that. But now it starts to brighten it up a little bit, right? But rather than now, if you believe that this person, hey bro, do you even know Christ? Like, how are you doing this, not knowing Christ? Like you've already done this like how many times, and you still are like, what is the deal? Now this person's going inside of themselves like, I'm gonna give up.
Right.
Like, this is not me. Like I can't do this no more. Like I'm fake. I'm not saved. No, dude. And that's what Satan wants you to believe. He wants you to give up. He wants you to believe that you're not. He wants you to just be like, throw it all away because you're not good at it. We're not all good at it. The only person that qualified us was Jesus.
Jesus, that's it.
And so for a lot of times, we need each other to help us crank it up a little bit.
Right.
But a lot of times, just like the prodigal son's brother, where he was like sitting there angry, but I was here working, I was doing all this, and you're gonna celebrate for this guy? What the heck? Sometimes we get bitter because we're like, nah, I'm not helping this guy. Like he's already been in sin. Like he already threw it all away. He threw his portion away. Like why am I gonna celebrate this?
Yeah.
We're the guys that are keeping that dim lower rather than helping turn it up.
Right.
Instead of that prodigal son's brother being like, hey bro, welcome back, man. You're my brother. Bro, what do you mean? Like this is your plan too. This is your father. Man, that would have filled him up like crazy. That would have made him like unstoppable.
No, and it's awesome because like, you know, like the word says, if I'm not mistaken, it says that he came to his senses.
Yes.
And when he did that, he turned away. He said, I'm going back to my dad.
Yeah.
And I tell believers all the time, look, you can backslide. You'll fall into sin. Okay, well, when you come back to your senses, repent. And God is always there, open arms.
You have to.
No matter what you've done.
You have to.
No matter what you've done. And about that dipping in the Holy Spirit, I tell the kids this, you know, just kind of like jokingly, but it's just a little analogy.
Of course.
It's like, because we know it's not true, because you got the light, you know.
Yeah, amen.
And I say, when the rapture comes, is the Spirit in you going to be so dim that Jesus has to come and look for you? Where you're just not automatically, boom,
Like,
pulled
where's he
away.
at? Where's he at?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that a little speck over there? Is
Right,
that
it's like, I know Josh is on the list right here, but where's he at?
Oh, he's that little piece of glitter over there. Okay, I got you.
And, you know, that's just a little analogy that I use because it is that way a lot of time. It's like I tell them, look, we all sin every day on a daily basis, but, you know, are you committing the same sin over and over and over and over? I said, if that's the case, you got to stop and you got to think and evaluate, like, what's really going on.
You got to come to your senses, brother.
Exactly.
You got to come to your senses, you know. And again, everybody's sin is different than others. And again, you might hide it from me better, but you're not hiding anything from God. And again, it goes from, I can never compare my sin to anybody else's because it makes no sense. Because it's like, some guy that's addicted to working out compared to the guy that's eats too much. Two different bodies, two different things. They're both in deep sin. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is like, yeah, the results may look the difference. You're like, well, I'm healthier or well, I'm unhealthy. Well, you're both unhealthy spiritually. And the thing about it is like, that's just, whether, hey, I'm sorry, but, I had a great brother that I was doing ministry with, Sam, and he did a teaching one time that was so dead on that you can hear a pin drop. And he was like, a lot of people's sin is being religious or being self-righteous or thinking that they need to be part of all the ministries at church. That's your sin. Your sin is like self-righteousness and feeling like you got to be on the credit of everything at church. I'm like, whoa, that's pretty deep, because you're thinking like, well, you're doing church stuff. No, you're not doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it just to say, I'm doing all this stuff.
Right.
But you're not really doing it for the love of God. Yeah, sure, you're going to say it, but in reality, you're like, who wants to do this ministry? No, I could do it. Because I didn't like, nah, dude, chill out. Like, you're doing such a great job at the church, but yet your kids are falling into sin and your home's falling apart and you're forgetting about your first ministry. Right. And so, again, sin, and Satan knows all of our weaknesses. Like, he's so smart and intelligent, and that's another thing that I learned in my Christian is I stopped dumbing down who Satan was. I'm sorry, but this guy's smart. I'm sorry, but this guy's clever. I'm sorry, but he's a master deceiver. Yep. He knows me better than me. He knows me. Like, he knows, like, look, you put cigarettes in front of Alex, it ain't gonna be nothing. You put a beer, you put a drugs, Alex will walk right past it, never even see it. But bro, put that girl in that blankety blank, he's gonna break his neck. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's just our flesh. He knows certain things.
We all have different weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you put that cheeseburger in front of that one guy that loves you. Again, it's just different. Oh, you put that commercial on, different. Put that video game. Put that, it could be just being the center of attention at parties or whatever it is, bro. It's just always something small that Satan's like, I got you, bro. I got you. So again, man, I'm still learning, brother. I wish I could just press that red button and I'll be gone. But I'm so encouraged, and my favorite character in the Bible is Peter, because I just taught this Sunday, and Peter was the first one to explain who Jesus was. He's like, you are the Christ. You are the Son of the living God. And so many times we acknowledge who Christ is in our faith, but yet Peter chopped the guy's ear off. Peter very, very physical. Peter denied Jesus. Peter went back to his own ways. Peter was like, God, peace out, guys. I'm sorry. But, you see the love that God had for Peter, because even at the tomb, he's like, yo, tell the disciples and Peter that I'm back. And he's like, imagine being Peter and be like, wait, he said disciples and me? Why you have to just point out me? Why can't you just say all the stuff? You're like, wait, what's going on with that?
Little hint, because the disciples all left. They all scattered, right?
Yes.
But Peter followed him. But as he followed him, he denied him.
Yes.
So God wanted to make sure, in my opinion, God wanted to make sure that Peter knew that, hey, you're still mine.
You're still mine. That's why I love Peter, because God's constantly reminding me, you're still mine. Every time I feel like I'm falling short, and God, I don't care. You can be part of the church for a million years, and you'll still feel like you're falling short. You'll still feel like a failure. You'll still feel like you're a failure as a husband, a father, whatever. A friend, a child of God. You'll just always go in those modes. And again, it's a roller coaster of emotions. But again, it's the devil knows when to attack, and that's when he's really, really smart at doing. But you're right, bro, and that's why I love Peter, is because Peter is like I'm not worthy. I'm good. But then you hear everything about Peter, like when he's in water, around water, he doesn't like it. But then all of a sudden he sees Jesus, and he jumps out of his boat, swims all the way to the shore, and you're like, Peter was gone. He just left his boat, his fish. Everybody else on the boat is like, I'm gonna go.
Everything. Hey, but here's the thing. I mean, there's a translation. I'm not sure which one it is, but it says that he put his shirt back on. And like, dude, you're on the boat. You just have whatever you got down here, your garment down here. I don't know, whatever they wore. His shirt was off. He says Jesus, throws his shirt on, and jumps in the water.
I feel
what I
so
mean?
again. So again, like I said, I translate myself with Peter because of stupidity. No, but
that's
no,
I think that's just like the desperation. Like I want to get out there so bad. I don't know what to do. I don't know
No,
what
you
to
see what
act,
was
and it's
happening actually. Actually, he wanted to prove he could swim while weighed down. And
Well, I will say this. Back then, I will say this. Back then, I do know a little bit about that. Well, that garment was something that they would take off to not ever get dirty, and they didn't want it to ever be around anything unclean, so they took it off when they were doing all this fishy stuff, right? And it kind of shows the relation of how much Peter loved Jesus in that moment, because he's like, I'm gonna get this thing messed up right now. You know what I mean? So he just has this garment where he's just like, yeah, I know who I'm going to. Again, that garment's supposed to be presented to things that are clean and respected, but he's like, I'm not gonna go and show up to the shore without my shirt on in front of God. I'm gonna go with my garment on. So he, out of respect, jumps in like, I got you. And then again, and I love it because Jesus restored only Peter. He went to Thomas and Philip and stuff like that, but he walked through the door. But he tells Peter and he restores him and he tells him, hey, you rejected me 3 times? Do you love me 3 times? And again, at that time, he's like, then go feed my sheep. And even to that point, Peter's like, yo, I am not worthy to die like my king. Take me upside down.
Upside down.
So again, that's like a guy that's like just gung ho. I'm telling you right now, if you ever try to sit upside down for 10 seconds, it's not comfortable. So you have to imagine, like, that must have been just the worst death possible. One of the worst deaths, I should say.
a lot of people don't know, but you can do like a 10-minute handstand.
Yeah. You can do a 10-minute handstand. Or you could,
crazy.
dude. It's,
No, I'm talking about you
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
yeah. I can.
Oh, he can.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
can. You've never seen
Yeah,
him?
we learned this
Wait,
at
why?
Yeah, dude. This
Oh,
is,
I
can't.
can't.
I can't.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember
If you
that.
guys don't know, I am the master of a 10-minute handstand.
I remember that.
But I can't do it right now because I might crack the case, So, but I do want to tell you guys a little testimony about me and my wife about our house, what we have right now. We have. Does anybody else have anything to say?
No, go for it, man. Go for it.
I'm entertained.
Well,
So I hope everyone else is too.
oh, me too. If not, suck it up. My wife and I, we were looking for a house, and again, I've always been the one income of the household, so it's a lot of pressure, but it's something I'm very proud of as a man, as a husband, as a father. But it does the pressure does come along with it. We're at this time to where I got in a car accident. I was sitting on Arizona Avenue in Guadalupe, and I was sitting at this red light, and all I heard is, it was raining that day, and all I heard is this big boom, and I'm like in my Toyota Corolla, and I'm like looking up at the sky, but as I look up, my rearview mirror's here, and I look at my rearview mirror, and I just see. Imagine looking in your rearview mirror, and all you see is under a truck. You're just like, why is there... like in your mind at the split second, I'm just like, and I'm looking up for lightning. Like, where did that... And I look up, I'm like, there's a... So it just literally ramped off of this car in back of me on the left... so it was on the right lane. It ramped off this right car, and I was in the front. So it ramped off of it and squished my car. And so I... sitting there, I'm like, scrape, my whole door gets ripped off. And I'm like, what the heck? And, forgive me for being ghetto, but I was like, it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, it's not my fault. Like, I didn't do it. So I was like sitting there like, first time, like, what do I do? I was like, do I just stop, drop, and roll? What do I do? Do I punch myself in the eye? No, I'm just kidding. I was like, our airbags didn't go off, nothing happened. I'm just messing. But yeah. I go out there and I start recording, like, all right, let me get some evidence. So some guy runs past my car, he's running, and then he's beating on this. The other guy is trying to get away, but his tires turned into skis, so they can't go nowhere. So he's just scraping, but his tires can't go anywhere. So
the truck?
Huh?
The truck?
The truck, yeah. So, and the guy that was chasing after him was the guy that he ramped off of. So he,
Hold on. So you tried to get away?
he tried to get away, but his 2 front tires went from this to this. You know what I mean? So they went to hoverboard mode. You know what I mean? So they were just flat. They couldn't drive. So cops get there and get the citations. Obviously, again, it wasn't my fault, baby. Like I got home, like it wasn't my fault, baby. So at this point, we're like going through insurance, and it was about a year later until we actually got our money from it. That's how I got the BMW. And so praise God. So we're going to this home, trying to get a home. We just found out we're having our 3rd child, which is at this time, like I'm on cloud 9 because I have 2 girls at this time. And I'm like, if I get a 3rd girl, I'm going to lose my mind. So, because I'm going to keep going until I get a boy. And at my luck, I'm going to have 15 girls and 1 boy. So I find out it's a boy, and I'm super motivated. The housing market's kind of okay. I got a stable job finally after a couple of years, and now I'm applying to try to get approved for a loan. And so we're looking everywhere, and the housing market was so fast to where the moment we liked something, it was already sold, or it was already pending, I should say. And so we went from Florence, we went everywhere. We went to Maricopa, and we just went to Queen Creek, and I finally was just like, man. Went to the HOA of my dad's house and was like, hey, Marianne, could you tell me if anybody's going to sell their house? She's like, yeah. And then a couple months later, she's like, hey, you still pre-approved? I was like, yeah. She's like, there's another house. It's about $240,000. Nice place. Just got renovated. They basically flipped it. And they're selling it for $240,000. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, I want it. She's like, I'll get you in contact with them. So we got in contact with them. I had a realtor who will remain nameless because he was the worst. This guy, bro, I would tell him, hey, bro, offer this. I want the house for this. And he was like, nah, just give them what they want. I was like, dude, I feel like they'll take this. He's like, nah. And then and I always have all these houses saved in my list. Sure enough, like a week later, it was sold for like $10,000 less than what I wanted to quote them. So I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing? So he just never did that, ever. 100% of all my offers were what they wanted, never what I wanted. So I was just like, dang it. So I finally got this house, and I was like, I need like my monthly mortgage to be $1,400. I need that. Like, dude, I'm only making about $2,200 right now a month. I need it to be $1,400. We're gonna be living off of noodles for the rest of our lives, but at least we'll have a house. So he's like, okay, I got you. So Marianne said, hey, this is the deal. It's $240,000. He says, yep, your mortgage payment is gonna be dead on for $1,400. Perfect. Let's do it, brother. So we're going through the signing thing. We walk through the house, walk through everything. Everything's good. The inspector checks everything. Everything's good. Everything's perfect. This is the house we're about to get. It's right down the street from me and my dad's house. We're in literally the same street. So we start doing all the paperwork, and we're literally so excited. Me and my wife are so excited. We are going to go in to do the last signatures. And my wife is being amazing as she is. She starts reading the paperwork, and she's like, babe, did we agree to $1,700? It's like, no, we agreed to $1,400. She's like, well, it says $1,700. So I'm like calling him, and I'm like, dog. He's like, yeah, I know that, but in 3 years from now, we'll just do refinance. Thank you. We'll refinance, and we'll get you to that $1,400. I'm like, there won't be 3 years, bro. There won't be 3 years, bro. Like, there ain't gonna be 1 year. Like, what are you talking about, bro? I make $2,200. Like, you know this. Like, what are you doing? So, and at that point, we put in all the money that we were saving up into this escrow, to buy the home. And so he says, well, I've never had anybody pull out, and if you pull out now, you won't get your money back from the escrow. We're already past that point. And he was right. I looked it up, and I'm like sitting there with these people like, yeah, you'll lose all your money. I was like, me and my wife just came to the conclusion, it's better we lose all that money than losing the house too. You know what I mean? We're not going to be able to afford this place. So we're just like, we're not doing it. So we lost all our money and lost the house, couldn't get the house. I mean, there's nothing I can literally do. I cannot make more money. I can only do so much. So I was thinking of all the different ways getting a second job. I was like, there's just no freaking way. So my wife was devastated. When I tell you devastated, like the most weakest point of my life as far as feeling like a good husband, it was at that moment. Like I was like, bro, I'm about to sell feet pictures. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like Josh will be my number one customer, but I'll tell you what, I was just feeling like really horrible. Like I was just like, dang it, you know. And so she's like, is there anything you could do? Maybe we can sell this. Maybe we could build this on the side. And we were just thinking of ideas that we could try to make a little extra money for us to even be able to do this. And I'm like, just 3 years? There's just no way. There's just no way to do that. Like I would go mentally insane having that much pressure on it. There's no way. And so again, because my job was very unstable at that time, it was about month to month that I was working. So it was a sales job. So again, it was just very unstable. So anyways, 3 months goes down the road. My wife's still crying every day. She's still just like weeping, and I'm sitting there having a new son come, and we just lost the house of our dreams at that time. And then God's just like, he just told me, like, just trust me. Like, just trust me. I got this. And then my wife's like, what about this? I was like, we just need to trust God that he's going to give us something better. Like, we need to like reset, and we just need to focus on God. I was like, God will provide us. God promised us, and he will provide us. Like, and that's what I'm going to believe. And again, you know, I kind of felt like, you know, my wife was on that edge, you know, kind of like Job's wife, where she's like, well, you know, like, what'd you do, you know? Or like, how does God, you know? And it wasn't that she was questioning. It was just the fact that, like, she was looking at me in a way of just like, man, like, you just let that go. And I'm like, no, God's got something else. I'm just going to believe in him. And then one day, out of my sleep, God's like, just write 4 letters. I want you to handwrite 4 letters, put it in an envelope, put your name on it and your number, and go give it to 4 houses, any houses you want, any house you want. We go give it to 4 houses. I'm like, all right. So I woke up, hand wrote 4 letters, and they were all different letters too. I was trying not to plagiarize my own self, but I was just like, just literally writing 4 letters and whatever God led me to. And I just got the envelope, wrote them down, and I just took a trip by myself, praying all the way there, and dropped them on at 4 random houses. And again, the house that I didn't necessarily want, the house that I was in, it was just like I was just driving around, and I was like, that's a nice driveway. And so I just went and put in the mailbox and drove away and passed out the other ones. And so we were in Mexico for our first time. This was 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. And I got a call from a person. I'm like, ring, ring, and I put it on speaker. And she's like, hello, my name's Linda. You know, I got your letter. I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm willing to sell you my house. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, what the heck? Really? And she's like, yeah, I'm willing to sell you my house. She's like, you know, it needs to be fixed up a little bit here and there, but, you know, and I'm thinking, which house? like which house? Like, I don't know which house was it. Like, she's like, I'm the one on this. And I'm like, and I have my wife, she's like typing in the map. She's like, it's next to your dad's. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And so I was like, I don't even know what it looked like. I don't even know what the backyard looked like. I did no research on any of these houses, I promise. I just did no research. I didn't do nothing. I just went to 4 random houses that I wanted. And so she's like, yeah, you know, if you want to come down and take a look. So we went from Mexico all the way to her house. And then I went there, and I just, like, it's crazy because when I walked in the house, it's disgusting and gross and run down as it was. And it was very run down. I just looked at, like, treasure. You know what I mean? Like, I walked in the house like, I like this. I can work with this. Like, this could be my home, you know? And so we were, like, kind of nervous in that aspect of, like, what the heck? And so we were really excited about, she said, all right, well, let me get in contact with the realtor. I don't have a realtor, but let me get in contact with one that I can trust and see if we can work all this out. I was like, yeah, do whatever you want. Just, you know, I will buy your house just as long as, like, you can keep me in the loop. Like, don't put it on the market. Like, let's do this. And she's like, okay. So 2 days later, well, during that time frame, me and my wife were ecstatic, and we're just, like, super hyped. I'm like, man, like, we have no more savings, right? Gone with the last house. And I get a phone call from our attorney. She's like, hey, how you guys doing? I'm like, man, it's been a while. You know, it's been a while. She's like, about 3, 4, 5 months. she's like, hey, she's like, I just want to let you guys know, like, how are you guys? I'm like, we're doing good. She's like, hey, I just want to let you know that we were going through our documents and we owe you guys some money. And I'm like, what? All right. I was like, I already got paid. She's like, no, we owe you guys some money. And she's like, she's like, I already sent the check. It should be arriving to your house really shortly. She's like, and she disclosed to me the amount, which I've forgotten, but it was the exact to the penny of what we lost in the escrow of that other house. And so I was just like, I cried like a baby while with my wife, like, I cannot, like we just both realized, like, this is God. Like, we have the money now to put down as a deposit for this house so perfectly now that we don't even have to worry about anything. And we were just like, all right, this is God's house. Like, this is God's house. So when we when we're like complaining about stuff, we're like, hey, it's God's house. So don't be talking about God's house like that. You know, so when people come to my house, we're like, oh, you know what, you could do better. I'm like, this is God's house. You tell him, you know. So it was an amazing it's amazing because like we love that house because we know that. And to case in point is the other house never had a driveway, didn't have any concrete, it was just 100% dirt. The backyard was literally a quarter of the size of my current house. It didn't have a walkway, it didn't have a garage, it didn't have literally 90% of what my house has. My actual my living area of my house is bigger than the other house. My outside is 10 times bigger than the other. Like just ginormous. God wasn't like, no, I'm going to give you a house. I'm going to give you the biggest house in the entire community, the biggest one. And I was just like just how God was just doing everything. You know how he put the wisdom to my wife to actually be able to see that she would see 17. And guess what? We got that house $1,100 a month.
Nice.
$1,100 a month for our mortgage.
And that's just so crazy because it only happens because you trust God. Like, you would never plan, like, you know, I'm going to go buy this house and not have a down payment or have any idea where it's coming from. And I'm going to promise this person, I'm going to buy your house. It's like, who does that?
Yes, dude.
To the world, that just seems so stupid and dumb.
Oh, bro.
That's how it works, bro. Because, like, so the house we bought before this one here, similar story, you know. We had been renting for, you know, we lived at a couple different apartment complexes, probably 3 years total. We were renting another house, had issue with the owner because he, you know, the AC broke down, he got upset, and so I just thought, whatever, I had it fixed, and, you know, I just gave him the receipt. But anyway, as this is happening, you know, me and Kenya are praying, and I told her, hey, I think God wants us to get a house. And it's like, what do you mean? Because we had gone through bankruptcy because we had lost our previous house. And, you know, I lost my job. It's a long story. But
of course.
I told her, I think God wants us to buy a house. And she's like, well, we don't have any money. You know, how are we gonna get a house? And I said, I don't know. We need to go look. So we went to some model homes. And they told us about this program, like, you know, no down payment, whatever. But anyway, long story short, you know, all we needed was like $2,500. And it wasn't even that tract home because we bought another house somewhere else. But $2,500, you know, it's all it took. Mm-hmm. And this guy we were renting from was so mad, he kicked us out. Like, let's just get out of here. So we call the realtor, and the realtor calls the owner and says, hey, these guys need to move in, like, now. And, like, I don't even think escrow has started. Mm-hmm. Or it was about to, you know. We had barely made the bid, and they're like,
I didn't know we got kicked out.
Yeah.
The things you hide from your children.
Well, I mean, we ain't going to go tell our kids on
They're going to go to school. I got kicked out of my house.
We got kicked out, you know. We're homeless. We don't got nowhere to go.
And that's part of protecting your kids' minds, you know.
And, I mean, now you're old enough. Now you can know. But so we get kicked out, and so we literally have, like, a couple of days just to move out. So we tell the realtor, hey, you know, because the process, it takes at least 30 days. But they were done remodeling because the guy was flipping it. You know, he remodeled everything really nice. And it's like, what? We're done with the remodel. Do you guys want to move in?
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, move in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Praise
So,
God.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
the
now
way
you
God
know.
works.
Now you are. You're homeless for a whole. You're homeless for a whole day, bro. Welcome to our life for a week. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but number one is like we didn't get the money like you did like that because I mean that's just an awesome story. But God's just putting it in our hearts. Hey, it's time to go get a house with no money, and then we get kicked out, and it's like it don't even matter. Just come on in.
Absolutely.
So it's the way God works.
God is just like, and that's the thing. I'm like, again, he never pulls us in a meeting and be like, hey, this is what's going to happen. Just, you're going to get a little scared. Don't worry. It's just like it's like a Tetris, all the pieces start to fit in perfectly. And you kind of see that throughout all of, the Bible and life itself as well. I mean, my favorite story in the Bible is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and that's my ultimate favorite because, and if you really think about any type of story in the Bible, God always makes everything to seem like, what are you going to do? Story about Joseph, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if your brothers sell you? You're done. You have no reputation. What are you going to do that she comes after you and she's, all right, now you're in jail. What are you going to, and again, it's like constantly trusting the Lord in these processes. And you're thinking like, Lord, at what point am I just going to be done to where you're just like, all right, you're a good servant. Like, no, it's a constant process. Like you look at Jonah or Noah, I mean, constant process,
Yeah. And you know what? One of my favorite, lines, if you would say, in the entire Bible was, these three guys are about to get thrown in the fire pit, and they tell Nebuchadnezzar, you know what, King, our God can save us from this fire. Even if he doesn't,
if you don't,
we ain't kneeling down to nobody.
Dog, that is.
I love it.
That is, and I love that we share that in common with each other. Because my wife bought me a shirt because that is my number one favorite quote in the Bible. Yeah. Even if he doesn't. There's a song called Even If. Yeah. And I love that song because it's like, I know God can, and that's what I was saying about earlier. It's again, you go through these highs and lows and you're just like, man, but then when you get to that boldness, you're like, Lord, even if you don't, I just want to get out of this knowing that I loved you and I served you through it. Like, even if I don't get what I want out of this, I just want you to know that I still believed in you and I believe you through this process. But again, I love that. If it would have stopped there, it would have been a perfect story in my eyes. But it didn't stop there. They're like, yo, even if he doesn't, we let it be known we will not serve you. And it was like, what the heck? And he's like, all right, He's like, you guys talk about it. Even like he said in the beginning, I'll immediately throw you in the furnace. But at this point, he's like, you know what? You guys talk about it. I'm gonna go out. Then I'm gonna come back in, and then I'm gonna get your answer. You know what I mean? And that's when they're like, even if like now they just came back like, yo, not just no, but heck no. You know what I mean? It's like, what the heck? So like, it's crazy because Nebuchadnezzar knew who Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was. He knew who they were. Like, it wasn't that he didn't know who they were. They were actually friends of his from, I believe, Daniel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the fact is that he's like, dude, you guys should be on my side on this. Like, why aren't you guys just like, I'm sure that he's just like, damn, guys, like, just say yeah. Then we'll just squash this whole thing. Just do this for 5 minutes in front of all these other governors and stuff like that. Just do it real quick, all right? I'm going to leave. You guys talk about it. And then we'll come back and we'll do it. And he's like, all right. And then come back. He's like, hey, is everybody listening? Heck no. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's like, you just disrespected me in front of everybody. Now I got to show you that I'm going to deal with you. And then I'm going to make this bad boy 7 times hotter, killing the guys.
God shows him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he uses these 3 guys to literally change everything. And so again, in those processes, I'm always like, Lord, like, think about this, bro. Like, think about, and again, I love taking not only just the scripture, but I also like to like throw myself in there as well. Like, imagine being wrapped up. Imagine like being lit. Like, it's one thing to feel like you're useless when you just can't like do anything about paying something. But it's another thing feeling like physically useless. Like there's no escaping, bro. I'm bound. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, yo, I'm about to be thrown into this. Imagine like the feeling that they had inside of like, because we have feelings of like, I'm scared because I'm, the date of the first is coming up and I have to pay my bill. But they had the actual feeling of fire, of heat. And the closer they got to this heat, I'm sure the more that they're just like, oh, this is it. And it's like, this is it. Like the closer I'm getting to this bad boy, eventually it's going to be full on carne asada. Like it's going to be done. And at one point, like, they didn't scream. They didn't say, I'm sorry. They didn't doubt. They're just like, from no heat to all the way heat, I'm still going to believe in him. And sometimes I'll constantly tell myself, Lord, I'm feeling the heat. Lord, I feel the heat. Like I feel that pressure. I feel the heat. I know you're there, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And again, it's, I know you're going to walk me through this as he walked with them through that fire. So for me, it's always encouraging because it's like, man, like God doesn't say that we're not gonna feel the heat, we're not gonna go through. No, they were walking in the fire.
Right.
So in my life, when I'm feeling like, Lord, I don't want to walk through the fire. He's like, no, you're gonna be walking in the fire, but you're gonna be with me. And for me, it's just a learning concept of you can get so easily comfortable in your Christianity or your faith to where you're feeling like, but I'm a Christian. I shouldn't have going through any troubles. Like, bro, you're gonna go through a furnace 7 times hotter than anybody else.
Hey, Jesus himself said it. In this life, you will have trouble.
Absolutely.
So one last thing. Do you want to talk about what you do? Kind of. I don't know how to insinuate it without saying it, but.
What, the SICKREW?
Yeah.
So the SICKREW started out about a little bit after me and my wife got married. It was when I was in probation. I started getting really deeply involved into gaming. I was number 1 in the world in 2 games, Rainbow Six Vegas 2 and Medal of Honor Tier 1. And it would go to where I would jump into games and people were like, yo, that's the King General. And they would leave. So I was just like, or they would kick me out because, I was like, so I could never really play with people. So I really got discouraged. So I created a different account called The Great I Am. And they didn't know who The Great I Am was, but, it's same game, different player name and still destroying people. So they're not leaving. They're just getting destroyed by a different type. So, I got really discouraged and I was like extremely good at it. And, it's kind of like such a kid thing to say, I'm good at video games, but my wife's like, why don't you because at this time we started getting involved inside of church and stuff. And so she's like, why don't you start, representing Christ while you do video games? I'm like, first off, you got to think about it. Like, it's like being, I don't know, it's like being like good at something that you love, and then your wife's like, hey, why don't you do that for God? You're like, but wait, you want me to do this? like it's okay to do this? So at one point I'm like, you kind of support me in this. This is cool. So I was like, she's like, you should create a crew. And remember, I come from a lot of different crews back then of not gang related, but graffiti crews, and that's how I got my 7 felonies. But so these, so yeah, just 7. yeah. So that's how I got them. Again, that's why I was in those probation, stuff like that. So I was part of crews, and so it was always crews to me. It was always a crew. And so like, why don't you create your own little crew in gaming and that people could be part of? I'm like, that's not a bad idea. I was like, what would I call myself? She was like, let's pray about it. And she was like, like a soldier, because my name's the King General. And she's like, but like a soldier, like general soldier. And she's like, let me, and we're going through the Bible together. And she's like, I got the perfect scripture for you. And she's like, it's 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3. It's, you therefore must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. I was like, done. So a good soldier of Jesus Christ. So I was like, oh, sock. It's it. Sock. I'm like, that's. I was like, we kind of both look at each other. We're like, That's not it. So, Soldiers of Christ crew. And I was like, no. I was like, sick. Soldiers in Christ crew. So it became the SICKREW, the Soldiers in Christ crew. So we created it way back then. It was one of the biggest crews groups inside of Call of Duty back then. Super blessed. I was very, very good to where MLG, Major League Gaming, reached out to me. Back then they had these things called tags, and tags would be whatever you put on your name. So my name was the King General, and I would always have my tag, and it would always be 3 letters, and it would always be SIC, Soldiers in Christ. So it would just say sick, and so there would be professionals that would jump in there and they would have their own tags, but then the MLG, they would jump in there and you're like, oh, that's MLG. Like the whole crew or the whole place of MLG would jump in these places, and I would mop them. They're like, dang, bro. They were like, and they were constantly trying to recruit me, but again, at that time, I was like, nah, because then I'll be ashamed of not representing Christ. I'm not gonna ever, drop sick, and I never did. So I'm like, I'm not dropping sick to have Major League Gaming. So I'm like, I'm not never doing that. So I didn't. I said, I will go to tournaments with you, but I will not change my tag. So that was the biggest thing for me. I will never change my tag. And they were trying to pay me, change your tag just so you can represent us, And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just staying sick. You don't pay me anything. I'll still play with you. That was my big thing. I'll play with you on your squad, on this tournament, but I'm not changing my tag. And you don't have to pay me anything. Okay. So I would go and just pop, mop. And there was a huge following because then after that I would do this, I would go and start doing these little live streams of little Bible studies that I would do with me and my wife. And so after a while, like parents and kids were just like, can I join the SICKREW? And my only requirement is do you know Christ? And in order to do this, it's not about representing the SICKREW, it's all about representing Christ. We can't misrepresent who he is. I don't care if you misrepresent me or anybody else, but you can't misrepresent Christ. So that was the one thing. So it was so cool to where we would go into lobbies and the other team, because I would always roll with 100% the SICKREW, like just random other people, and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members of it, and they would just jump in, and I could only play with 4 at a time. There was only 5 in one lobby, 5 at a time that I could jump into, and then would go against another 5. So sometimes you would just jump into lobbies with all SICKREW, and they're like, yo, that's the leader, And so it was cool. So we'd go and we would mop them, and then all of a sudden somebody would jump in, and there'd be like 4. Sometimes we would go against a completely different random team, and they're like, yo, how do we join SICK? What's it about? And I would tell them like right there, like this is how you're like, yo, if I do that right now, can I join you guys? Can I put that tag up? Like, absolutely. And so we would pray, they would accept Christ, and then they would just be part of the SICKREW. Never hear about them again, And during these streaming times, there's just one story that really just made me and my wife kind of look at each other and like, this is it, So it was just, so I was streaming, and then all my followers jumped in my chat, and they're just like, Alex, go to the streams, go to Ustream, go to Ustream, look at the tag, and basically they were tagging some other streamer, and the streamer was like, really just losing his mind, and he was live. He was a 14-year-old kid, and he was like sitting there at this bed. This is when Ustream. This is when like as far as like them deleting people live, like that just wasn't happening. People were doing crazy stuff live streaming back then. They just didn't have the coverage that they do now. You say one bad word, or not bad word, but you say one horrible thing, and you're banned live. But back then it wasn't like that. So this kid. So everybody's telling me like, hey, stop the Bible study, go to this other stream. We want you to watch him. And I'm like, why? My whole chat is now filled with people just telling me to stop doing what I'm doing to watch him. And I'm kind of like a little like, what the heck is happening? Like, and so I'm like, let's just check it out. So I'm like looking, and it's this kid with a little gun. He's like just sitting there stressed. He's fidgeting, and he's like saying like, I'm gonna kill myself. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, and then I chat. I put in the chat. I was like, hey buddy, I'm here with you. And then now the chats are blowing up like the SICKREW's here, the King General's here. Hey, yo, don't do nothing. Let me get you. So and that back then I used to always give people my number. Like I didn't care. I was like, just tell my number, whatever you want. If you want to spam text me, I don't care. Whatever, like people used to too. Trust me. And so they were putting his whole chat's being filled up with this phone number. It's my number. Everybody is now blowing up this guy's chat with my phone number. Please call this guy. Please call this guy. Please call this guy. He's really cool. And they're talking about me. And so I'll never forget that feeling because I'm just like, it's one thing to do Bible study. Remember, when you're doing Bible study with just Christians, that's cool. But when you're doing a Bible study with a bunch of non-believers, now you're getting the trolls. Now you're getting the people that are saying disrespectful things. So that's what I was doing at that time. And I didn't care about it. I just dealt with it. But now I'm in a different environment where I'm like, I have to save someone's life? Like, how does that work? You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And so on his live stream and my live stream, I'm talking to him and I'm like, hey, brother. He calls me and I was like, hey, bro, what's going on, man? You know, what's going on? And he's like, hey, Alex, just letting you know, whatever you say right now could determine whether I take my own life or not. I'm like, telling myself, like, Doug, how, like, the amount of pressure, I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I honestly was just like, it was just one of those moments like, dude, I don't want to hear that. Like, that's horrible. And I'm like, because if I say something wrong, then everybody's going to be like, dude, you said something wrong. I don't know. So it was just like, I didn't like that. But the Lord took over from there and I was like, look, dog, just talk to me like a brother, man. Just what's happening. It's like, my dad got cancer. I have nobody else. I don't have uncles. I don't have nobody. It's just me and my dad. And for me to understand, again, I don't understand. I don't understand how it is just to have one person in your life. I have an infinity amount of family members. For this kid to be like, I don't have anybody else. I have just my father, and he's about to die of cancer. And I was like, hey, do me a favor. I know you don't believe in God, but I know that my God can show off. And if you can give him an opportunity, not me, forget about me. If you can give my God an opportunity, I'd be forever grateful. I'd be forever grateful if you can give my God an opportunity to show off in your life. And I was like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to say a prayer. You're not going to kill yourself. We're going to continue to be talking with each other. And I'm going to continue to call you every single day to hold you accountable. And again, he didn't accept Christ that day, but he did stay there with the prayer. And so we're sitting there, and through a couple weeks, still calling him every day. And one day I'm streaming. He's like, yo, good news. And he's just putting in the chat, good news. And everybody's like, oh, this is the guy. I'm like, I've been talking to him every day. And he's like, can I call you? And I'm like, he's like, I know you're streaming right now. I was like, of course, brother, call me. So he calls me and he says, I just have good news for you, man. He's like, my dad is cancer free. And I'm just like, I cried right there on the stream. I sat there and cried. And so he's like, I want to know more about this God that you serve, and then we prayed right there and he accepted Christ. But so that's what the SICKREW's been about all these years. And right now I'm playing a game called Vigor. I'm a partner of them. So that means I talk to the developers, I talk to the community managers, and I get all the updates before the entire gaming community does. So I'm in the scoop before everybody else is.
So does that mean they pay more attention to your complaints?
For sure. Yeah. For sure. But I'm huge on being the community voice. That's my biggest thing is I want to be the community's voice. I like a lot of times I want my voice to be heard, but a lot of times the biggest thing is a good leader learns how to be a good follower, and a good follower becomes a really good leader. So for me, it's just about that. So I want the community to be heard through me, so that they can hear, the main people hear through me what the community is thinking. So that being said, so I am now the Vigor partner, player. I was just voted by everybody around the world to be the community champion, which was a great honor. So that's just a really cool title that I get to have in the Vigor community. And so yeah, I mean, it's been great. And a lot of times I'll get side messages with people, and all I do for 24 hours sometimes just sitting there playing games is just play the game.
Like a whole day?
I'll sit there for a whole day in the chair with the mic in my face playing one game.
Do you eat?
Oh yeah, my wife is literally the best. She just comes and like, here's games. I'm like, while I'm playing the game. So yeah, I mean, I take breaks. I take poo breaks and pee breaks. So I am very blessed in that aspect. But yeah, man, that's it. So when people want prayer, when people need help, they side message me. I don't do that any longer on the stream because a lot of these streaming companies don't. They don't. It's crazy, man. Like they promote nudity, they promote sexuality, they promote all these things around about the world. They promote all these crazy things, but the moment you mention Jesus and the moment you mention your faith, they will ban you. And so, it's as much as it's hard for me because you feel like they know who I am. Everybody knows who I am. But the thing about it is like it's like, hey, if you want to talk more about this, let's talk after stream. Now I'll call you and we'll chat with each other. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
So are you still able to do like Bible studies?
Oh yeah.
Or
Stay able to do Bible studies as far as being able to create much bigger party chats now. So I can do all that now. I could. Before it was limited. Before I had a maximum was 50 people inside of our parties. Now it's way more than that. So I would do probably like 5 hours worth of 30-minute increments of Bible studies. So me and my wife would be sitting there with 50 people loading up in the party, do a Bible study. Then next 30 minutes, another group of 50 people do the same Bible study. Do that about 5 hours. The one thing I thought was really cool is back then you could actually show your PlayStation camera. A little kid from Pakistan, he started out he just loved Bible studies. Like this little kid was like 13 years old, and he started out, can I be part of the next Bible study? I'm like, yeah, just stay in here and they'll fill up. Okay, and just stay in here. So I used to always have people like, hey, who wants to show up? What time slot do you want? So we used to do that. Well, with this little kid, this went on for months to where this little kid, every Bible study, and it was Wednesdays and Sundays, he would always just stay there for 5 hours, bro. He'd listen to the same Bible study for 5 hours. 30-minute increments, like he's hearing this too many times. I'm like, dude, you can go now, But there's this one time where he was just like, my parents don't agree with this. My parents don't like this. My parents, okay. And so he just was always there, and I'll never forget this little kid. And he's like, hey, do you mind? And this is about 4 or 5 months later. He's like, do you mind if I put my camera on? And usually back then I was like, nobody have your camera on, or I'll mute you or kick you out, because we just want to focus on the Bible study, nobody else. So when two people had it, it split the screen into two, but instead of one, it just had my whole Bible study there. So he said, do you mind if I have a camera on? And I'm like, why would you want your camera on? But at the same time, I knew this little kid wouldn't just do that out of disrespect, because he was just always there. And I'm like, absolutely. And again, it's just all God. And so, not me, because me would have been like, heck no. But because God's like, no, this kid's been loyal to you. Like, yeah, say yes. So I said, okay. So that entire 30-minute Bible study, he turns on his camera. He's like in front of the camera. I'll never forget. He goes up to the camera. He turns on. He's like, could you see me? Could you see me? And I'm like, I can see you. And I was like, okay. And there's a little echo because my voice was coming out of his TV. Yeah. And he's like, can you see me? Can you see me? And I'm like, looking at him like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. And he like gives me a thumbs up. And he runs, like, looking at the camera, he runs in back of him. And there's this little dinner table. And there's his father. I don't want to cry, but there's his father, his mother, his big brother, and his little sister were all at the table with Bibles. And they were just sitting there with Bibles. I mean, this is something that, like, this little kid in the very beginning was like, my parents don't believe in this religion. They don't want anything to do with that. And he's like, and they all wave, hey, Alex, we're looking forward to the Bible study. I'm sitting there like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm like, guys, and I just stopped for a moment. And I was like, guys, I want you guys to understand how much this means to me. This family was not Christians a couple months ago. They had a completely different faith. They didn't like that their kid was watching a Bible study for 5 hours a day. They didn't like anything about it. I says, but not to see every single one in their family open up a Bible. And so there I was. Half of the screen was me doing the Bible study. The other half was them flipping to the pages. And the little boy, 14 years old, going up to his dad, his grown dad, flipping to these dads sitting there like, I don't know where Matthew's, I don't know nothing's at, and the mom's, he's going to every single person, showing them where the books are, where the scripture, and they're learning. And I was just like, dude, there's just so many, there's countless moments in the Sick Crew where I just like looked at my wife and like, man, this is amazing. This is amazing. So thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate you. I love you guys, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to just be able to speak to brothers about life.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
Great.